to the people that we're defending them against. How do you figure that one, right? And I stopped it. It was over. And then Biden comes in, and within 3 days he approves Nord Stream. But he kills Keystone Pipeline, right? He kills Keystone. He approves the Russian pipeline, the biggest in the world. Billions and billions of dollars a month come flowing in. But he ends the Keystone XL pipeline. And then they say, Trump is too nice to Russia. I'm nice. I'm the one that gave him the 100 javelins, the thousands of javelins that knocked out the tanks, but they knocked out 100 tanks in the first 2 days with javelins that I gave. Remember, they said Obama gave pillows and Trump gave javelins. And then they say, oh, Trump was so nice to Russia. No. Putin would say, if you're being nice, I hate like hell to think of what you'd be if you were not nice. But we were tough, and we were smart, and we were right. We were right just on everything. We were right. And what they've done is unthinkable. What they did with the border, allowing these people to flow in, is unbelievable. But to achieve a great future, we first have to throw off the chains of our out-of-control political class, and that begins with telling crooked Joe Biden, you remember The Apprentice? Crooked Joe Biden, you're fired. Get out of here. Get the hell. You're destroying our country. You're fired, Biden. Get the hell out of here. Right? Get the hell out of here, this guy. He goes after his political opponents. Let's go after them. See if you can indict him so that maybe we can win. A little bit of a backlash when the numbers go up. But anybody that does that and all these other things they've done, they're destroying our country. We're not respected anywhere anymore. We're laughed at. We've become a joke as a country. For years, you've watched as the entire Washington cesspool has been feeding on the wealth and hopes and dreams of hardworking Americans, really hardworking Americans. They've feasted on the profits of job-killing trade deals. They've gorged themselves on the spoils of endless wars. And now what they crave, they want it so badly, is permanent political power and dominance for whatever reason. They're sickos, that's why. In 2016, we gave these corrupt insiders their chance to change, and with Biden, they answered with hoaxes and witch hunts, censorship, lockdowns, and with total repression. 8 years later, the swamp has rejected your righteous pleas to reform, and we have to do this, and we're going to reform, and we're going to have freedom again. We're going to have freedom again. We do not have freedom, and we have the most corrupt press anywhere. These people are corrupt. They are corrupt. Not all of them, about 92%. No, you have some wonderful journalists, you really do, but they're just overwhelmed by the people that know they're doing so wrong. I watch ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, it's so, I don't even talk about CNN because nobody watches them anymore. MSDNC is horrible, horrible. But fortunately, not a lot of people are watching them anymore. They've tuned out. But the press has to straighten itself out. You know, they're all doing badly, and they're doing badly because they're fake news. That was another one we called, right? Fake news. The only problem with that term, it's not strong enough. I wish it was stronger. At the ballot boxes November, it's you and the people you have to be, and we'll deliver a reckoning like they haven't even imagined before. We're going to straighten out our country. We're going to bring our country back. For hardworking Americans, November 5th will be our new Liberation Day, but for the liars and cheaters and fraudsters and censors and imposters who have commandeered our government, it will be their Judgment Day. Their Judgment Day. When we win, the curtain closes on their corrupt reign and the sun rises on a bright new future for America. That's what we have to have. I believe it's our last chance. You know, I used to say how important in 2016 that you got to do it. It's the most important election. I meant it, but that was nothing compared to where we are now. We had a big border problem, and I solved it. So much so that in 2020, I couldn't even mention it. I'd say, let's talk about the border. Sir, you've solved that problem. You don't have a border. I don't care. I want to talk about the border. I talk about the border. Everybody would sit there. They wouldn't even say anything because we had no problem. I solved it. But who would have thought that now we have a border problem that's 20 times worse than what we had in 2016? 20 times. And we'll solve that one too. But it's going to have to be very strong action, and it's going to have to happen fast before our country is just totally overwhelmed. Your victory will be our ultimate vindication. Your liberty will be our ultimate reward, and the unprecedented success of the United States of America will be my ultimate and absolute revenge. That's what I want. Success will be our revenge. I love those young people over there. But have you seen, the closer we get to this magnificent liberation of our country, the more desperate the Biden regime's evil persecution against us has become. They become more and more violent. The Stalinist show trials being carried out at the Joe Biden orders set fire not only to our system of government, but to hundreds of years of Western legal tradition. You see what's happening. They've replaced law, precedent, and due process with a rabid mob of radical left Democrat partisans masquerading as judges and juries and prosecutors and executioners. That's what they are. I've gone through trials. The level of hatred from these judges, there's no way you get fair trials. The level of hatred from prosecutors, when they know you've done nothing wrong, it's sick. These are sick people. The only crime I've ever committed is defending America and those who want to destroy it. I will fight those who want to destroy it. And they're very angry at me because I won an election that wasn't supposed to happen, and they were caught off guard. And they said, we'll never let that happen again. And in 2020, they cheated like dogs, and we all know it. We all know it. For that and that alone, Biden and his deranged prosecutors, attorney generals, local district attorneys are trying to take away my liberty. They're trying to take it away. They're trying to steal my liberty. If there's any shred of justice left, they will fail and we will win. And so far, we're doing very nicely. Thank you. But I would rather lose my freedom than surrender to this group of thugs and tyrants, fascists, scoundrels, and rogues. The more the corrupt establishment tries to stop us, the more you know the day is near at hand when we will break free from their grip. We're going to break free very soon. We're going to break free from their grip very soon. You heard the J6 hostages, didn't you? You heard that. And I will tell you, there's never been in the history of our country a group of people treated the way they've been treated. There's never been anything like it. Carpenters, mechanics, lawyers, firemen, policemen, military people. They went to protest a rigged election, and they've been sentenced to years in prison. When they burn down Portland and they take over a vast section of Seattle and they burn down Minneapolis, and I had to watch television as a CNN reporter is standing saying, this is a peaceful protest. I'd like to say, this is a peaceful protest. And the whole damn city behind him is burning to the ground. Did you remember that? As far as the eye could see, Minneapolis burning to the ground. This is a peaceful protest. And then he got hit on the knee and he went down. It was crazy. No, it's crazy what's going on. And I tell you what, if I didn't bring in the National Guard, because the governor didn't want to do it, they'd never want to do it. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, I wish I didn't wait 6 days, but if I didn't bring in the National Guard, you wouldn't even have a city there. You wouldn't even have, that city was going down. They'll only motivate us more to make America great again. We have to make America great again. That's our mission. People say, what is your mission, sir? I remember when Ted Kennedy, he was actually a friend of mine, slightly different viewpoint on life, but he was a friend. But they asked him a question, it took him down. What plans do you have for America? Why are you running? And somehow, that's a much harder question than you think because, you're answering all the little details. Then they ask, what are your plans for America? Took them down, I just say, my plans are very simple. Make America great again. That's all I say. Make America great again. Very simple. Thank you, Gordon. The first and most urgent action when we win will be the sealing of the border, stopping the invasion, drill, baby, drill, send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home. We'll do all of those things, and we're going to have to do them fast because no country can sustain what's happening in our country. You look at New York, where I originally came from. I love New York, and you take a look at what's happening. Hundreds of thousands of people, they've taken over the streets, Madison Avenue. They've taken over Queens. They've taken over Brooklyn and the Bronx. They've taken over the whole city. The little leaguers can't play anymore because people are there that can't play. But it took longer than I thought, but I predicted this. It's called the migrant crime, and it's far more deadly than anybody thought. They will actually have fistfights with police in the middle of the street. You saw that the other day, where they attacked police. Even our bad criminals, they never had fistfights with a cop. They do things and they talk and they shout. But these guys are actually, and the interesting thing? In their country, if they ever did that, they'd be dead within seconds. They'd be dead. I know where they come from. I know the people that run those countries. I know the presidents and the dictators. I know every one of them. Some are dictators, some are prime ministers. But they're tough guys. They're tough guys. And those thugs that gave the middle finger to our police and then started fighting them and actually threw two of them down and started beating the hell out of them, although they fought back bravely, the two. But these are tough people, and they know that in their country they'd be dead within minutes. They would be dead as a doornail within minutes. And so they came over here. So it took a long time, but now it's talking. Now you're seeing it. It's migrant crime. It's a new category of crime. And I wanted to call it Biden migrant crime, but it's too long. So we just call it migrant crime. We have a new category, migrant crime, and it's going to be more severe than violent crime and crime as we knew it, because we have millions and millions of people, and they came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums. No, they're not the same thing. An insane asylum is a mental institution on steroids, okay? It's Silence of the Lambs, okay? You know that. Hannibal Lecter. They're all being deposited into our country, and then you have terrorists, and then you have drugs, and then you have human traffickers, and they're coming over at levels never seen before. We've never seen anything like this. 3 years ago, we had the safest and most secure border in U.S. history. We ended catch and release, except when it was catch and release in Mexico. We had catch and release in our country. We built 571 miles of border wall, far more than I said I was going to build, and I couldn't get the damn thing through Paul Ryan. He stopped at Paul Ryan, a super rhino. He's a super rhino. I couldn't get it through Paul Ryan. Mitch McConnell. They said, sir, if you wait till next year. I said, you sure? They said, don't forget I had never done this stuff before. I'm the president, and these guys are bullshitting me. They said, sir, if you would just sign this budget and wait, next year we'll put it, and then next year came. I said, where's my wall? They said, sir, we're not going to be able to get it. In the meantime, they give trillions of dollars to the Democrats for the Green New Scam. So what I did is I approved the military, and I took it out of the military. That's how I built it. I built the wall through the military. And the military, by the way, the Army Corps of Engineers did a great job. But I built it through 571 miles and 200 miles ready to go. It was laying there ready to be installed. It would have been 3 weeks. The entire thing would have been double what I promised. And then we had the rigged election, and they said, we don't want to build the wall. We don't want to build it. And I said, you know, they really do want open walls. I figured it was maybe just talk. I said, they really want an open border. Nobody could understand it. They really want an open border. And that's when it began. And that's when our country had really, because we can look, we can drill. We have more energy. We have more liquid gold than any other country. We can drill. We can do all of these things. But we have a problem because we have, by the time this guy, trying to be nice, but I don't have to be nice anymore because he indicted me. But I'm trying to be nice anyway. But by the time this guy gets out of office, we'll have 18 million people, in my opinion, in our country that shouldn't be here. And they do come from prisons and mental institutions, and they are terrorists. And we're going to be paying a price, and it'll be the largest deportation in the history of our country. And we have no choice. And it's not a nice thing to say, and I hate to say it. And those clowns in the media will say, oh, he's so mean. No, they're killing our people. They're killing our country. They're killing our people. We have no choice. You know, when I went to Mexico, I said, Mr. President, you're going to have to give us 28,000 soldiers because the caravans, that was another name I came up with. I come up with good names. Longtime politicians come to see me, sir, could you give a name to my opponent? I said, how long are you a politician? 28 years, sir. You can't come up with your own names, but I do. Caravan. But I went to the president of Mexico. I said, they're coming through your country, and thousands of people in these caravans. They have one coming up now, supposedly 25,000 people. They're going to walk right into our country. We have no idea who the hell they are. But it started with Honduras. It started with El Salvador. They just started, but now we're equal opportunity. We have every country. We have countries that, honestly, nobody has ever heard of. We have languages coming into our country. We don't have one instructor in our entire nation that can speak that language. These are languages. It's the craziest thing. They have languages that nobody in this country has ever heard of. It's a very horrible thing. I said to the president of Mexico, you're going to have to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. No, Donald, I will not do that. I will not do that. I cannot do that. And I said, no, you will, I promise. Are you going to do it? No, I will not do it. I said, listen, you and I friends, I really like him a lot. So I said, let's not you and I. Just give me a negotiator because I don't want to do this with you. And he said, I will do that. And he sent me this very handsome guy, so handsome, so beautifully dressed. In fact, I asked him for the name of his tailor. Then when I found out how much he paid for the suit, I said, forget it, keep it. But he was a handsome devil. And I said, listen, you're going to have to do a few things. You're going to have to give me 28,000 soldiers. You know, Tom Homan was up before. He's fantastic. And he does go around saying, I love this guy. He says, Trump was the greatest president in history, and on the border, there has never been in his lifetime any president that was even close. And he's right about that. He's right. I mean, we know the results. But Brandon Judd, you have unbelievable people. All they had to do is leave it alone. But I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers. No. Then the new guy comes in, the representative. Yes, sir, what can I do? Now, I asked Tom Homan, Brandon Judd, and a person from the State Department, a wonderful woman. She's been there for over 20 years. She's covered Mexico for over 20 years. She knew it, and she was competent. She was good. She wasn't a good negotiator. And I said, what would you like? Give me your top. I want a top 10 list. Well, sir, we'd like to remain in Mexico, but we've been trying to get that for years. You won't be able to get that, and you won't be able to get a catch and release in Mexico. You know, we have catch and release, and we catch a criminal and we release him in our country. I said, no. Catch and release is fine in Mexico. Title 42, I want. That's with the sick people and with the children. You've got to get the children back to their parents. All of these things. They gave me a list. But they thought they were wasting time. It was a list of 10 things, tough things. Just ask Tijuana if they were tough. Tijuana became one of the largest cities in the world all of a sudden. They said, what the hell is going on? So this guy comes in, and I say, look, number one, I want 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And he goes, we're not going to do that. We're not doing it. He thought I was crazy, by the way. I said, oh, no, you're going to do it 100%. No, we're not going to do it. I said, you're going to do it. I guarantee you, you're going to do it. He goes, no way. I said, way. And he said, we will not do that, sir. We will not do that. I said, here's what else you're going to do. Remain in Mexico. Nobody comes into our country until they're checked at the border. You're going to do remain in Mexico. You're going to do catch and release into Mexico, not into our country. You're going to do all sorts of things. You know, we had a lot of medical problems. People were coming in deathly sick with a disease, highly contagious disease. I said, I don't want our people catching these diseases that we never even heard about. They have diseases nobody's ever even heard about. I'm sorry. I feel badly for the people, but we don't want to have this contagion in our country. I'm sorry. And we did that. So we had a list of these 10 things, one tougher than the next. And he said, we're not even going to think about this. And the person from the State Department, this really good woman, but she said, sir, you're just going to be wasting your time. And I said, all right. I said, I'll make you a little bet. I'll bet you I get all 10 within minutes. And she thought I was crazy, too. So after he said, no way, I said, way. And then I said, here is what's going to happen. If you don't approve this and if you don't give us those soldiers, and their soldiers are not politically correct. You know, our soldiers, if you say, excuse me, madam, you're not supposed to be entering our country. Ma'am, please don't enter our country. Then they get indicted because they talk to her too rough, you know. We have the greatest soldiers in the world, but they're not allowed to do their job. I proved that with ISIS. Our soldiers knocked the hell out of ISIS once I took over and took it away from our fake television generals. We have great generals, but not the ones like Milei and these guys on television. They're fake. I had generals that were really tough. I had generals that I had to hold back, okay? We have great military, and it's only woke at the top. I don't think it can ever be wokenized at the lower levels, because these are great people, tough people. I really don't believe they could do it. It was only at the top. And remember, when I let them go, 4 weeks. We were told 4 years, and it probably can't be done. I knocked it out in 4 weeks. Our military is great. I said to one of the generals, what's your name? Kane, sir. My name is Kane. He looked better than any movie actor you could get. My name is Kane, sir. I said, all right, Kane, what's your first name? They call me Raisin. I said, what? Raisin, sir. Your name is Raisin Kane? Yes, sir. I love you. You're the man I'm looking for. You're the man I'm looking for. And I said, why is ISIS so tough? He said, they're not tough, sir. They just don't let us do our job. I said, why not? He said, because this is after I flew to Iraq. You know, I flew to Iraq in a plane. Some of you know the story. It was all dark. After spending 20 years and $1 trillion, we can't turn the lights on in a plane. I sat with the pilots, the most handsome human beings I've ever seen. It's not my thing, but they're handsome. Not my thing. Not even a little bit, but they are handsome. Central casting. Better looking than Tom Cruise and taller. Okay, let's do it. So, I'll deviate on the story. Now, by the way, when I deviate, they'll say, oh, he went from... No. A really smart person can go through various stories, always come back and conclude everything. Okay. Don't worry, we'll get back to Mexico. But this is almost, right now this is more exciting. So the plane's off. I said, why are you doing that? Because, sir, we're flying over an area that's very dangerous, where we spent 20 years eradicating. And so I said, I want to go sit with the pilots, because I often do that. And I'm sitting with the pilots, and I get up there, I'm feeling my way up. And the plane was absolutely dark, no lights on the outside, no lights on the inside. It was a little spooky. We're up there 40,000 feet getting ready to start going down, and they're telling us we can't have any lights. No lights in your cabin, sir. And then they pull down the shades anyway. So I'm sort of feeling my way. I get up there, and I see this captain with the crew cut, the whole deal he's got. Yes, sir, it's an honor to be with you, sir. And I said, Captain, I don't see any lights. You know, we're getting close. Is there a problem out there, Captain? No, sir, we'll be landing in less than 30 minutes, sir. I say, all right, and I'm sitting in a seat that's right in the back between these two handsome human beings. And, you know, they always give the best pilots, Air Force One and Marine One, the helicopters, which is good. One thing you know, you got great pilots. These are the best. And so he said, no problem, sir. We'll be landing in a little while. And then 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes. I haven't seen one light. There's nothing. It's like, and I'm getting a little nervous. You know, do you ever see? I'm trying to act cool as a cucumber. And it's, if you know anything about planes, you have the I call it the computer voice. It's the most beautiful voice. If I had that voice, I would have been president 20 years earlier. But the most beautiful voice, so professional. 1,000. That means you're 1,000 feet over the ground. Now, I haven't seen a light. I haven't seen anything. It's just dead. There's not anything. That means we're like really low. We have this massive plane. We're just right off the ground. Then it goes 900, 800, 700, 600. Now, we're 600 feet off the ground. We're flying in. The plane is dark with the exception of a tiny little light that they've got on their dashboard underneath everything and totally concealed. There's not a light anywhere. I've never seen anything. It was like dark. 500. I said, Captain, are we okay, Captain? Everything fine? Yes, sir. No problem. We'll be on the ground in just a few minutes, sir. I say, what ground? So, 400, 300, 200. Captain, are we okay? Yes, sir. We'll be landing momentarily, sir. 100. Now, usually when you're in these planes, I do it a lot. You have lights bursting, you know, big lights. You got a runway, it's lit up like a candle. There's not one light. There's not even a little, what they call a pigeon light. That's a tiny little light. 100. And I want to ask him again, but I want to show some bravery. Because I thought we were going down for the count. And then all of a sudden, and it's genius, there is no light. And then all of a sudden, 100, and then bing, bing, beautiful landing like nothing to it. Sir, it was an honor to be with you today, sir. Thank you, Captain. Does anybody have a towel? I'm saying, does anybody have a towel? I need a towel. So now I'm walking out and getting ready to go down and meet the generals in Iraq to find out why we're not defeating ISIS. And I see my staff, and I say, that was quite an experience I just had. Yes, sir, great landing. They said, yeah, what was it? And I said, let me ask you a question. Is the President of the United States allowed to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor for bravery? Because I did a very brave thing. I was so brave. Am I allowed to do it? And they said, sir, it would not be a good thing to do. Now, here's the problem with that story. The fake news media will lead tomorrow. Donald Trump wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's true. It's true. When I imitate Biden, who can't find the stairs ever. You know, you have so many stairs in it. You got one there, you got ramps, you got everything. Here, you only have 2 or 3 stairs. Sometimes you have 6, 7 stairs. The craziest thing, what a waste of money. My father would say, what the hell are they doing? All you need is 1 stair. But for Biden, you need many. But when I imitate him with the stairs, because he never can find his way. If you ever see Secret Service runs up and grabs him and, you know, helps him off the stage. This is what we have negotiating nuclear weapons. So he finishes his speech, and do you ever notice? He finishes it. The speeches last about, would you say, average 2-3 minutes, right? Very quick. They're very quick and not good. Not good. But the press gives him good marks. I remember when he made such a bad State of the Union speech. Everything was stumbling, mumbling. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I said, I'm going to watch CNN, MSDNC to find out what they say, because that was one of the worst speeches. They said, not since FDR has there been a speech so magnificently delivered. I'm telling you, I've never, ever forgotten it. Not since FDR. I said, it's impossible. They're fake. They're terrible. But you know what? When he goes, and he always points, he goes like this. Thank you. Where am I? Thank you. And then he goes, and he points. You ever notice? And it's always he ends up going in the opposite direction ultimately. But he goes, and then sometimes he trips over the, and then we don't have it here. But if there's a wall behind him, he ends up walking into the wall. And then one of these incredible guys from Secret Service, all these beautiful guys, they run up stage. Look at these guys, like central casting, right? They'll run up stage, they'll grab them, and they're not meant to smile. You know, they're very hard line. When I tell stories, they're like this. I guess they're trained that way. They never smile. You say, good morning. Well, sure. They actually turn away. It's good. This way you don't have to say good morning all the time, okay? No, they train them this way. But so one of these guys will run up and grab him and take him off the stage. This is what we have as our president. But the worst thing is when I do that, the fake news. I call up my wife, our great first lady. She was a great first. People love her. Yeah, people love her. Oh, look at that. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good. Yeah, she's good. And she loves our country, and she loves the people. It's true. When I give these big rallies, we give rallies, they say, we love our First Lady. They have signs, we love her. They always show a high heel, you know. But we love our First Lady. But I call up our First Lady, I say, so, baby, how good was that? She goes, you were okay. She's a very tough critic. I'll go into a group, I'll speak in front of 55, 56, 68,000 people sometimes. I'll call her up, I'll say, how good was I tonight? Was that unbelievable? She goes, well, your hair didn't look good. Oh, that's not good. But it's very hard to get like, you know, once in a while she goes, you were really good tonight, but that's like a major. But I said, in this case, I said, how good was that tonight? She said, you were really good tonight, but what happened? You couldn't find your way off the stage. Because the fake news said Donald Trump couldn't find his way off the stage. I said, wow. Or when I interject a name, like I go, our president, Barack Hussein Obama. Rush Limbaugh, remember? He would always, right, Seb? Rush would go, Barack Hussein. You couldn't hear Barack or Obama, but the name Hussein, he'd be screaming. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I think I do. But he'd go, Barack Hussein. So I'd go, Barack Hussein Obama, our president, has done this, this. Now, I meant that because there are those people that say he's running our country because Joe is not strong on aptitude. So there are those. We don't know that that's true. But they go out and they say, Donald Trump, headline. Donald Trump doesn't know who the president of our country. He thinks Obama's the president, Lou. Look at the great Lou Dobbs. He thinks Obama is the president. So when I'm sarcastic, because I'm sort of a sarcastic guy, I find humor in sarcasm, but it's very dangerous to do because they take it very seriously. But it's a very serious subject because of what happened. To finish the first story, what happened? Hey, by the way, isn't this better than reading off a frickin' teleprompter? Right? Right? Anybody can do that except for Biden. Anybody can read off a teleprompter except for Biden. He can't do that either. He can't do that either. He asks questions. News conference. Hey, when I'm in a news conference, people with these maniacs, these lunatics are screaming at me. They're just screaming like crazy. And, you know, you take them, and I love it. You know, it's like a mental challenge. It's horrible people. But they're screaming, and you're answering, and you're getting them. And then sometimes they get in trouble because they said you were too tough, or you were too nasty, too this. The people don't like that. I understand that, too. But he asks, like, a question, and it's, Bob, from NBC. Okay. Mr. President, sir, we just wanted to know, are you feeling well, and was everything good? And did you have ice cream today? Then he picks up the paper and he reads the answer. Yes, it was vanilla. No, but think, they ask him questions and they give him an answer. That never happened to me, right? I walk out there and it's like a free-for-all. But it's a sad thing. Okay. So now I go off and watch. You know this is all genius, okay? You do know. I hope you know. I always say my uncle was the longest-serving professor in the history of MIT, Dr. John Trump. We have a lot of great aptitude. They'll say, he rambled. Nobody can ramble like this. Nobody. If they did, they wouldn't even try. You know what? They go step by step, and they would never get off that sucker. They go step by step. But what happens, and it's very interesting, we get on the plane, we get off. Now I've just learned that I should not give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor. My people are saying, can you believe he asked that question? But we get off the plane, and I'm walking down. I'm going down this big ramp. I took the high stair, you know. I don't like the children. We call it the children's. I never had a problem with it, but I'm walking down, and I'm looking down, and I see these central casting people. A general, another general, a colonel, a staff sergeant, could be in any movie. These guys, it's like perfect. They're like perfect individuals. If I were casting a movie on the military, I would pick these guys. There's nobody you could hire in Hollywood that looks like this. So I walked down, and this is where I met General Raisin Cain. And what's your name? General, what's your name? And he gave me his name. What's your name, Sergeant? Yes, sir, and I love you, sir. I think you're great, sir. I'll kill for you, sir. Then he puts on a Make America Great Again hat. You're not allowed to do that, but they did it. I remember I went into the hangar, and there were hundreds of troops. And they're not supposed to do this, but they all put on the Make America Great Again hat. Right? Not supposed to do it. I said, you're not supposed to do that. You know that. They said, it's okay, sir. We don't care. We don't care. And I met these people, and I said, so what do you think, General, sir? Would you like to rest up? See, this is before Biden. See, if I had Biden, I'd say, I'm not Biden. But we didn't know how bad he would be because we hadn't been tested yet. Sir, I said, he said, would you like to rest up for a little while? Then we'll have a meeting. We're all set. And this place is like all bunkers. No windows, no nothing. It's all bunkers, real stark, but beautiful in a certain way. Billions and billions of dollars it cost many years ago. And I said, no, I'm okay, General. Let's get the business. He was probably surprised. So we started. I say, so General Mattis and all these guys that tell me back in Washington that it'll take 4 or 5 years to defeat ISIS. Why? Sir, it's not true, sir. It's not true. I said, what's not true? We can do it very quickly. How quickly? 4 weeks, sir. Wait a minute. I was told 4 years, and you might not be able to. Sir, we can have it done in 4 weeks. Why? How? What were they doing? Sir, it's our job as a soldier. When they come in from Washington, they're a higher rank. We respect them. We have to respect them. That's our job. I understood exactly what he was saying. He said, sir, when they come in, they tell us what to do, and we do it. I say, don't you question what this? No, sir, we don't question. They came in, they had a plan, and we said we'd do that plan. What was wrong with the plan? We attacked from way far away, sir, and only one place. It happened to be here. We're hundreds of miles away. By the time the planes got there, they practically had to go back and refuel. I said, what would you do, General? You don't mind if I tell you, sir, do you? He said, I don't mind. I'm waiting to hear. He said, sir, we have auxiliary ports, and we have runways all over the place. They're portables. We call them portables. We put them up faster. We take them down even faster. And they're damn good, sir. What I'd do is I'd hit him from 9 different locations. I'd hit him from the left. Now he's getting excited. I'd hit him from the right. I'd hit him from up top. I'd go right the hell under the damn ground. I almost used the bad word. I would have been in trouble. I would have been in trouble with the religious right, but they love me, so I don't care. I would have been a bit. Please don't do that, sir. I would have been just so proud of myself I was able to stop. But I'd hit him from the left, I'd hit him from the right, I'd hit him from east and west and north and south, sir. They would be over very quickly. I said, well, why didn't they do it before? Because, sir, some of the ports and some of these runways are located in countries where they didn't want to be politically incorrect and use a runway and attack the enemy and their savages, sir. Attack them from certain points. I said, so you'd attack them and you'd hit them hard, right? Yes, sir, I'd hit them so hard. And I said, and it would take you 4 weeks, maybe more, maybe less, sir. So I said, you gotta be kidding. I said, I'm gonna go back to Washington and I'm gonna think about this because nobody ever told me about this. He says, sir, we'll have time left over. So I go back to Washington and I call and just spoke once more. Are you sure you can do this, sir? You can do it, sir. I'm telling you this, sir, because we have the greatest military in the world. You know, you see these clowns, these stupid people with Afghanistan. You see these stupid people, Matt, from Afghanistan, the withdrawal, the worst, most embarrassing moment in our lives. They take the military out first. I knew Abdul. I said, Abdul, you'll get hit so hard. 18 months, we didn't have one soldier killed in Afghanistan. I was the one that had it ready. It was enough. 21 years, that was enough. It was ridiculous, but I would have never let Bagram go because Bagram is 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons, and they let it go. They left at the dark of night. They left the dogs behind, and they left the lights on. And you know who occupies it now? China. So I said, so Raisin, how's it going? I said, sir, just about over, sir. We're going to save a little time, sir. I said, all right, good, call me. So he does his thing. I get a call that ISIS is on the run. The next day I get a call that ISIS is really in bad shape. Next day I get a call that they're surrounded. Next day I speak to somebody and I say, is it really going that well? Sir, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. It's our military. It's our great military with people that know what the hell they're doing. And they say, sir, we have them now totally surrounded. Most of them are gone, but there's a large group. Just give us the word. Give us the word for what? Don't forget, I had never done this stuff before, you know. I grew up in New York doing real estate deals, really good ones, as you found out. You know, you find out. Even though they want to take as much money as they can away from me. I think we're going to fine him $450 million. Let's give him a fine. You know, usually get a $500 fine. I get a $500 million fine. These people are sick. It's all part of weaponization, and it can't be allowed to happen. But I said, what are you talking about? We have, sir, a large group, and we're ready to extinguish them. We're ready to send them to hell. I said, we're talking about human beings, you know, naively. She's laughing. We're talking about human beings. No, they're not human. Sir, these are animals. These aren't human beings. These are animals. I said, well, maybe if you fly over them with those incredible, thunderous planes, the greatest planes in the world, maybe you'll shake them up a little bit and they'll surrender, sir. They don't know what a white flag is. I remember that statement. They don't know about surrendering, sir. They're horrible, horrible people, but they are brave. They're not going to be surrendering. Well, let's try it. 2 days. Fly over them back and forth, low as hell. Well, we got a couple of bullet holes in our planes, but we'll do it if you want. Just give it a shot. Get a call back 2 days later. Sir, they're not going to surrender. We've been doing it now for 2 days. Back and forth. Back. Just give me the order, sir. I said, you got the order. Thank you, sir. A day later, I get a call. We have defeated 100% of ISIS. Isn't that a great story? Isn't that a great story? Right, Mike? 100% of ISIS. "100% of ISIS is gone." So, you know, doing stories like that, probably, Matt, probably I won't get the best speaker this year because I went off the stupid teleprompter, but maybe we will. So it was an amazing thing, and I learned so much. I tell that story sometimes rarely because it's, you know, it's a rough story. But I tell it because you have to know what a great military we have if you let them do their jobs. And I equate it with our police and law enforcement people. We have the greatest law enforcement people in the world, but they're not allowed to do their job. It's the same exact thing. Chicago could be solved in one day. New York could be solved in a half a day. The New York police, I grew up with them. They're the greatest people. Now, a lot of them have left, and they've gone down to other states, and they've retired. But you have great people. And they can do their job if they're allowed to do their job, but they don't want to lose their pension. They don't want to lose everything. When you see these department stores where 300, 400, usually kids walk in there with the masks on and rob the store, destroy the store, millions of dollars, then the store closes, the whole thing starts to collapse, the city. I could solve that problem in one day, in 1 hour, in 1 minute. When the word got out that we took a very tough action, when kids walk out with television sets, like brand new, beautiful $2,000 television sets, and they're walking out, and the police are told, stand down, don't do anything. If the police would be allowed to do their job, and they would do it really strongly, it would end. That whole phenomena would end immediately. It would never happen again. You don't even have to do it in every city. All you have to do is do it in one. That's why I'm giving immunity to police, so that they stop crime, because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to lose their wife, their family, their pension, their house. It would stop immediately. So when I equate the military story and I talk about what they did and how we defeated ISIS, it's the same exact thing for the police. We have the greatest police. They could stop it in Los Angeles. They could stop it in New York. They could stop it in Chicago. They could stop it everywhere. But they're not allowed to do their job. And if they do their job, they lose everything. They lose their pensions, their house. They lose their family. And we're not going to let that happen anymore, because our city's all run by Democrats, radical left Democrats for the most part, but Democrats. It's a cesspool. It's a cesspool. Okay, now we go back to one little final story that I have to finish. So as you remember, the president of Mexico sent a representative. Lou. See, they'll say he rambled. He's cognitively impaired. No, it's really the opposite. It's total genius. You know that. It is. It's total genius. These fakers up there, he rambled on endlessly, telling these horrible and very boring stories. No, they're very informative stories. They're very important stories, actually. But no, there's no cognitive problem. If there was, I'd know about it. In fact, if there was, you'll be the first to know, because I will tell you. I will tell you. But, so what happens is I'm talking to the gentleman, and he's very confident. And I said, no, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And he thought this was a weird conversation because he kept saying no. I said, no, you're going to do it. 100%. Don't even think about it. No, I said no. But, sir, I said no. How many times do I have to say no? I said, say yes. And he said, I can't do that. I said, here's what I'm doing. It's Friday evening, starting Monday morning at 7 o'clock. Mexico is going to pay a tariff of 25% on all of the cars that you stole from our country, by the way. You know, they stole 32% of our manufacturing cars. The United Auto Workers are going to vote for me, all those people, because that deal they made with China. All-electric cars. The all-electric mandate. Everybody has to have an electric car, which doesn't go far. Got a couple of problems. Doesn't go far. Doesn't work in cold weather. Remember, 4 weeks ago, I won in the largest margin ×2 history in Iowa. And it was 40 degrees below zero on election night. 40 degrees. This was serious cold. If I walked from here to here, let's say that's 5 yards, I was freezing my ass off by the time I got there. This was so cold. You never saw so many electric cars pulled over to the side of the road. You could have had any one of them. I don't know what the hell the people did. I guess they saved them in some way. But no, they don't go far. And these are the people we have making decisions. No, you want to have everything. We want to have choice. Like in school, we want to have choice. And with cars, we want to have choice, right? You know? We want hybrid. So I said, I'm going to sign this document. And at 7 o'clock on Monday morning, everything, including cars. And by the way, Mexico is our #1 trading partner. Who the hell knew that? Can you imagine? Mexico is our biggest trading partner. And you know why? Because I put so many tariffs on China that they really had to pull back. And we saved a lot of businesses. We saved the steel industry because of it. But Mexico is our biggest trading partner. I said, you're going to pay 25% tax or tariff, call it whatever you want. It's similar, but not actually. And you're going to pay it on every single thing that comes in from Mexico into the United States. And like every other country, they rip us off big. We don't have any good deals. I changed the South Korea deal. I changed the Japan deal. I could sit down and do nothing but change deals. I said, who the hell negotiated for the United States? And then you wonder why we have a $2 trillion deficit. Now, if you look at it now, it's gotten to a level that nobody can even believe. It's so bad under Biden. But I said, that's what's going to happen. And that's going to be a hell of a lot more than 28,000 soldiers. And I'm okay with it. But I'm ready to sign it. You just tell me when to sign it. Sir, may I? Now he's doing this. He was a very confident man just moments before. Now he's grabbing his collar. He's pulling. He can't breathe. Sir, may I call our president, please? Absolutely. Please give him my warmest regards. And I said, will you make it quick? I'm late. I got the Russia hoax to take care of. I got to take care of that hoax, Mike. So make it quick on how much time. Think of what I could have done if I didn't have to go through all that bullshit, right? Think of how good I would have been. So he comes back in 5 minutes and he said, sir, I'm pleased to tell you that it would be our great honor to supply you with 28,000 soldiers free of charge. It would be our great honor to adhere to your request for remain in Mexico. Millions of people can stay in our country. Here's a guy. You ever see what happened to Tijuana? It was like people. They had no earth left. It was, you looked at it as, became, I think it was the fastest growing city in history. Tijuana, nice place. But we have, I said, what about catch and release in Mexico? Yes, sir, we'd love to have you release people that you catch, prisoners and murderers. We think it would be a wonderful thing for our country, sir. We would love it. Sir, you can do whatever the hell you want. And we got everything. And then this fool, this stupid fool, released Mexico of all of these obligations. And then last week, for the first time, I can't even believe it, I heard Mexico saying, we're not going to negotiate with the United States unless they give us $10 billion. These are stupid people. How about the hostages? The hostages with Iran, Iraq, but the hostages, we gave Iran $6 billion for 5 people. $6 billion for 5 people. A hiker, you know, a hiker goes over and says, oh, look, there's Iran. Let's go hiking. We give them $1 billion to get the hiker out. We gave them $6 billion, and then we gave $10 billion because they supplied some electricity to Iraq. What the hell do we care if they supply it to Iraq? Iraq should have never. Remember, I used to say a long time ago, don't go into Iraq. Don't do it. But I was only a civilian, so I didn't get that much press. I said, don't go into Iraq, but if you're going to do it, keep the oil. Do you remember I used to say that all the time? Keep the oil, but don't do it, but keep the oil. Iraq now has $300 billion. Iran has $224 billion. And Iran controls 100% Iraq. So for years, they'd fight each other, and they were the same. For years and years, under different names, but religious thing. But they would fight each other for years, and they were the two powers, and they were checkmating each other. So they'd fight and fight and fight 4 or 5 years. They'd throw a little gas, They'd throw another one, we'd throw another, and then all of a sudden they'd say, shit. And they'd go back, and the border basically remained unchanged. This has been going on for centuries. And then we come along and we blow up one of the sides. We blow up Iraq. And now Iran is taking over Iraq. So Iran, they might as well change the name. So Iran has their $200 and some odd billion that they all made in 2.5 years. 2.5 years. I told China, and I told all of the countries, France, everybody. I said, listen, if you buy 1 barrel of oil from Iran, we're not going to do any business. We're going cold turkey, which wouldn't have been a bad thing anyway. We're going cold turkey. You're not going to do it. And we're going to put a 100% tariff on anything that gets through. And President Xi, I told him this. He said, all right, well, we won't do it. We won't do it. They didn't buy. By the way, they're buying billions and billions of dollars worth of oil right now. But China didn't buy. Nobody bought. Iran was broke. And they had no money for Hamas. And they had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for anything. They were down to almost nothing. And there were a lot of stories that Iran was unable, and all these terror groups were angry at Iran because they weren't paying them. And the terror groups were all breaking up. If I were president, Israel would have never been attacked. Would have never been attacked. As soon as I was forced out with a rigged election, we can never let that happen again. Don't let it happen again. Don't let it happen again. As soon as I was forced out with this rigged election, Biden took the sanctions off. Iran went back to levels that they've never seen before, more than they've ever done. And now they're rich as hell. They're selling oil to everybody. They're making so much money they don't know what to do. They're a very rich nation. With me, they were broke. They were broke. I remember a Democrat congressman on Deface the Nation a couple of weeks. I think it was Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. It is Deface the Nation because their news is so fake. But he was saying that, well, whether you like Trump or not, he did break Iran. They were broke. They had no money. I said, that's nice of him. He probably, lost his chairmanship or whatever he was. But we did a great job. We did a great job. So what happened is Mexico agreed to all of these things. We took the money out of the military. We built the wall. We had the safest border in the history of our country. The history of our country. And it was very interesting because we built the wall, but a lot of people were coming up at the beginning. Once they saw that I meant business, once they heard some of these stories that I'm telling you right now, they didn't come. They weren't coming. The caravans were much smaller. The people trying to get in was a much easier situation to handle. When you have an idiot like Gavin Newsom saying, if you come up, we're going to give you pension funds, you're going to have pensions, we'll give you a mansion. Do you ever see the things that he's promising? Free health care, free education. Who the hell wouldn't? I may move there myself, actually. No, but people all over the world are hearing this, that California, look, a lot of people think Gavin Newsom is going to run. In a certain way, I hope so. I hope so. Because he's destroyed California. He's destroyed it. But he's got a hell of a line of crap. I watched him on Sean Hannity, who's a good man, Sean. Sean, we love you very much, Sean, if you happen to be watching, which you will. But he was on Sean Hannity, and he was saying, no, California's never done better, we got to do this, we're doing that. I'm saying, wait a minute, the place is failing. They don't have water. They're notifying people in Beverly Hills you can only use 40 gallons of water. They don't have water. By the way, they could have so much water. I had it all set. All of the federal government approvals were done. All he had to do was sign a little piece of paper. And I won't let him get away with that again because he had to sign one piece of paper and water would be pouring down from up north, pouring down from Canada. And it comes down the artificial veins and the natural veins where the water poured down. They take this water and they send it out to the Pacific, way above California. They send the water out to the Pacific to protect a little tiny fish that's not doing too well anyway. and people don't have water, and the farmland is barren. You go down, it's best land there is in the whole country. They can't farm it because they have no water. And it's true. In Beverly Hills, you pay a fortune in taxes. They say you can only brush your teeth once a day. Who the hell wants to mean you can't use too much water on your hair? That would put me out. I would not want to be. They put restrictors on showers. They put restrictors on faucets. You buy brand new faucets. Aren't they beautiful, darling? Oh, yes, look at them beautiful brass faucets. They're so beautiful. Let's try them. Oh, shit, no water's coming out. Drop. It drops out. You turn on the shower. I'm going to take a shower tonight. My hair's going to look better than it ever looked. I get that whole deal ready. I'm all set to go. Turn on the shower. Ding. Ding. No. And they have so much water. I said to some of our great congressmen that asked me to help them with a problem up in that area, up north in California, I said, I see you have a drought. They said, no, we don't have a drought. We have so much water, you don't know what to do. But they send it out to the Pacific. We're not going to let them get away with that any longer. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And frankly, I believe, I gave a speech up there. We had like 100,000 people show up. I said, what the hell is going on over here? I always hear Republicans can't win. California, you can't win. I will tell you, if God came down and God was the vote checker, I believe we would win California. I think it's so crazy. They send out 36 million ballots, get sent out to people unknown. They're sent out all over the place. How many people from California know people that got 6, 7, 8 ballots, okay? Our elections are so corrupt. I think we'd do very well. I think I would do very well in California, actually. And I think I would do well in a lot of places because it's common sense. Remember, not conservative. It's common sense. I'm conservative. But the words are common sense. Our country is run by people that are destroying it. We're not going to let it happen again. We're going to have a great military. We're going to have a great... Everything in our country is going to function properly again. It's going to function well. We're going to be respected all over the world. We're going to be respected like we've never been respected before. And it won't take long. It's like Orban said from Hungary, put Trump back in, and the whole world is going to be fixed. He said that very strongly. Put Trump back in. What do you do? They said, what do you do, sir? What do you do? The world is blowing up. He said, it's a very simple solution. Put President Trump back in office. It will all be healed very, very quickly. So I want to apologize for literally not repeating this beautiful speech. But I thought some of these stories are instructive because they tell you our military is great. They tell you our law enforcement is great. They tell you our president is incompetent. They tell you a lot of things, some of which you knew and some of which you didn't know. So now I'm going to the place I'm supposed to be. I'm going to South Carolina. I'm supposed to be there. And if I do poorly, I'm going to blame Mercedes. Forget about Matt. I'm going to blame Mercedes. Because I am supposed to be there, and I'm not there. And if I do poorly, I'm blaming everybody in this audience. But I think we're going to do okay. And I just want to thank everybody. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you from a beautiful place called South Carolina, go out and vote right now, please. Get in those cars and drive fast. I'm going to leave you with this one final message. We're going to win the election. We're going to win it big. We're going to win it bigger than ever before. We're going to do things that nobody believed. It's going to be more important even than 2016. We are going to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
I said I was down and out with the blues. I felt no man cared if I were alive. I felt the whole world was so tired. That's when someone came up to me and said, young man, take a walk up the street. It's a place there called the YMCA. They can start you back on your way. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything but your mental joy. You can hang out with all the boys. YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Young man, there's no need to feel down. Young man, pick yourself off the ground. YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Young man, are you listening to me? Young man, what do you wanna be? YMCA. You'll find it at the YMCA. No man, does it all by himself. Young man, put your pride on the shelf. YMCA. And just go to the YMCA. Young man, I was once
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome member of the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, Eduardo Bolsonaro.
Que isso, ó? E aí? Mike Lindell! It's an honor to be here right after the next president of the United States. And right before the great Argentinian president, Javier Milei. Today, I'll tell you how a country loses its freedom. I look around and see these ordinary men and women who dreamed of a better country, left into a dirty prison as if they were worthless than an animal. And for those who think I'm exaggerating, I will mention a few simple examples. You can take a look at the image. Felipe Martins, the President Bolsonaro's international advisor, like Jared Kushner, a brilliant young man in his studies with a promising future, imprisoned by a court of exception, accused of a coup d'etat, never attempted or planned, and without hope of minimally fair treatment, as due process and broad defense no longer exist in Brazil. Silvinei Vasquez, former chief of police during my father's administration, the chief who most seized the drugs in Brazil. Eduardo Naime, chief of police, who was injured during the protests on January 8th while working during his holidays. And also lawyers, veterinarians, journalists, comedians, pastors, a sign language interpreter, a gospel singer, a homeless, an individual diagnosed with a high degree of autism, all of them imprisoned and accused of coup. These people are now receiving sentences of 17 years in jail. And Clezão, salesman, died inside prison as waiting trial for almost 1 year. And just like them, almost 2,000 people were arrested in a single day in Brazil. Elderly, pregnant women, and even children accused of being terrorists, of having attempted an armed coup, even though not a single weapon was seized. The totalitarian judicial system created the narrative with the help of the legacy media that these ordinary people were a threat to Brazilian state. And this climate of persecution expanded censoring and hunting critics of the current government. And under the excuse of preserving democracy that does not exist anymore, these selfless tyrants crush political opposition in the country. Today, even journalists are exiled in the United States, like Alan dos Santos, Rodrigo Constantino, and Paulo Figueiredo, who is here at CPAC and had a viewership similar to Tucker Carlson's when the regime forced them out. Their social media were taken down by orders of the court, their bank accounts frozen, and even their Brazilian passports have been canceled by those same people they criticized. The only judge who dared to differ from the regime was fired. Ludmila Lins Grillo, who is also present here in the audience, had a similar fate. All of this is just a step towards the ultimate goal, to imprison my father, the former president, who dared to put the interest of Brazilian people first. My father is now prosecuted and slandered in the most varied ways, as in every tyranny, the limit of the ridiculous no longer exists, and even faces the accusation of having committed the terrible crime of disturbing a whale. Yes, this is not a joke. My father is criminally charged for passing by a whale on a jet ski through a complaint made by Lula da Silva's environmental minister. My friends, I conclude by making an appeal. Report what is happening in Brazil. Tomorrow, we will have 1 million people on the streets of São Paulo in support of President Bolsonaro. Make this image go all around the world. American congressmen, we ask for a hearing in your Congress. You are the leaders of the free world. Help us to expose this tyranny. It's as my father often quotes in John 8:32. And you know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But there is still hope for Brazil. I'm looking forward here now to listen the great president of our brother country, Argentina, Javier Milei. God bless you. God bless the free world. Thank you, CPAC. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of Argentina, Javier Milei.
Hola a todos,
Hello, everyone.
yo soy el león.
I'm the lion.
Lindo día para hacer temblar a la
Lovely
izquierda.
day to make the left wing shake.
Yo también los amo.
I love you too.
¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Long live freedom, damn it.
Parece que lo que decían como fenómeno barrial se agrandó un poco el
Looks like
barrio.
what seemed just like a local phenomenon has grown. It's quite a large neighborhood now.
Bueno, en primer lugar,
first
muchísimas
of all,
gracias por esta invitación.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
Y en cuanto a la conferencia del día de hoy,
And as for today's talk,
dado el impacto de la conferencia en Davos,
in view of the impact of my speech in Davos,
en la en la que señalé que Occidente está en peligro,
where I stated that the West was in danger,
dado el avance de las ideas estatistas socialistas
due to the advance of statist and socialist ideas,
Hoy haré foco en los fundamentos técnicos que sostenían dichas apreciaciones políticas en aquella conferencia.
Today I will focus on the technical underpinnings of those political views.
En este sentido, haré foco sobre cómo la economía neoclásica y su visión de los fallos de mercados son funcionales al avance del socialismo.
And along those lines, I will focus on how neoclassical economics and its view of market failure are conducive to the advance of statism.
Y cómo ello destruye el crecimiento económico, poniendo un freno a las mejoras en el bienestar y en la lucha contra la pobreza.
And how this destroys economic growth, putting a brake on the improvements in well-being and the fight against poverty.
En cuanto a la génesis de este problema,
As for the root of this problem,
el problema es un problema metodológico entre modelo versus realidad.
the problem is methodological in nature. It's about a model versus reality.
Dado que la realidad siempre es muy compleja de analizar, se analiza con modelos,
Reality is always very complex to analyze, so it's analyzed by using models.
pero en términos generales, cuando el modelo no mapea con la realidad, uno corrige el modelo, descarta el modelo.
But normally, if the model doesn't match reality, you throw away the model.
Y el problema con el mundo neoclásico es que frente a este problema en que el modelo no mapea con la realidad, se enojan con la realidad llamándolo fallo de mercado.
And the thing about the neoclassical model is that when the model doesn't match reality, they get mad at the reality, calling it a market failure.
El origen de este problema tiene que ver cuando se pone a estudiar las cualidades normativas del equilibrio competitivo.
So the root of this problem arises when you start studying the normative basis of competitive equilibrium.
Es decir, mientras que el análisis se centraba en la existencia, en la unicidad y en la estabilidad, eso no confería un problema grave desde el punto de vista político.
So when the analysis focused on existence, uniqueness, and stability, there was no actual political problem.
Y en rigor, el problema aparece cuando ingresa el análisis normativo de la mano del análisis de Pareto.
The problem started when the normative analysis started to be linked to Pareto's analysis.
Básicamente, la idea del óptimo de Pareto es que yo no puedo mejorar a alguien sin empeorar a otro.
The basic idea of Pareto's optimality is that you can't improve someone's position without damaging someone else's.
Concretamente, si estoy en una situación donde puedo mejorar a alguien y hago una mejora para alguien sin empeorar a otro, eso se llama mejora paretiana.
So if you can actually improve someone's position without damaging another one's position, that would be a Pareto optimality.
Y obviamente, cuando esas oportunidades se agotan, significa que estamos en el óptimo de Pareto.
And when those opportunities run out, then that's Pareto optimality.
Y es ahí a donde aparecen las definiciones de fallos de mercado,
And that's when the definitions of market failures crop up.
que tienen distintos nombres. Una es las no convexidades, es decir, la existencia de rendimientos crecientes, o para decirlo más popularmente, estructuras de mercados concentrados y monopolios.
One of the names given to this position is that of non-convexities. This has to do with concentrated structures and monopolies.
Otros casos son las externalidades, los bienes públicos, la información asimétrica y el dilema de los prisioneros.
Also externalities, public goods, information asymmetry, the prisoner's dilemma.
Y en realidad, todas estas definiciones tan elegantes son todos elementos que habilitan la intervención del Estado y con ello el avance de los estatistas y los socialistas.
And all these elegant names are actually ways to pave the way for state intervention and for statists and socialists.
Pero para que no estén tan en abstracto, voy a hacer un ejemplo aplicado.
But to make it less abstract, let me give a more practical example.
Si básicamente supongamos que estamos en el momento, digamos que nos alumbrábamos con velas y todavía no había llegado Edison.
Let's suppose we are at a time when candles were still used and Edison hadn't yet come along.
Obviamente, en el momento que aparece Edison con la lamparita, todos los fabricantes de vela van a la quiebra.
Of course, when Edison did come along with the light bulb, all candle manufacturers went bankrupt.
Naturalmente, si le hubiéramos prestado atención a los intervencionistas,
And if we had paid attention to those who favored intervention,
hoy en lugar de tener esta hermosa conferencia con todas estas luces, seguiríamos con velas.
instead of having this conference in this lovely venue today full of light, we would still have candles.
Así es como los socialistas arruinan nuestras vidas. Por suerte, descartemos el óptimo de Pareto y avancemos con el progreso tecnológico.
That's how socialists mess up our lives. So let's get rid of Pareto's optimality and let's get rid of the socialist approach.
¡Viva!
Long live freedom, yes.
Entonces, lo primero que tenemos que entender, ¿qué es mercado? Tener una buena definición de qué es el mercado.
So the first thing we need is to have a good definition of the market, what the market actually is.
En este sentido, el mercado es un proceso de cooperación social donde se intercambian derechos de propiedad voluntariamente.
The market is actually a social cooperation process where you voluntarily exchange property rights.
De hecho, dado que los intercambios son voluntarios, no es posible hablar de fallos de mercado, porque nadie estaría haciendo acciones autoflagelantes.
Actually, since these exchanges are voluntary, there can be no market failure because nobody would be self-inflicting harm.
Por lo tanto, digamos, cuando definimos bien mercado, todas las definiciones de intervención se derrumban.
So if we define the market properly, all definitions that are interventionist in nature collapse.
Por otra parte, también es muy importante tener claro cuáles son las instituciones sobre las que se construye la idea del mercado.
It is also very important to be clear as to what institutions are the foundations of the market.
Dos instituciones muy importantes son la propiedad privada y los mercados libres de intervención estatal.
Two major institutions are private property and markets that are free from state intervention.
Porque básicamente, si voy a estar intercambiando derechos de propiedad, quiere decir que la propiedad privada es importante.
Because if you're basically going to exchange property rights, it means that private property is important.
Y si los intercambios son voluntarios, no hay lugar para la presencia intromisiva y violenta del Estado.
And if the exchanges are voluntary, there's no room for the intervention, encroachment, and invasion by the state.
En este sentido, cuando se hace un intercambio y alguien entrega un bien a cambio de dinero, eso fija un registro histórico llamado precio.
So actually, when someone engages in an exchange and gives something in exchange for money, this creates a historical record or register, which is price.
Y ese registro histórico denominado precios es un mecanismo de transmisión de información.
And that historical record we call price is an information transmission mechanism.
Que además se transforma en un mecanismo de coordinación porque hace que algunas personas sean oferentes y otros sean demandantes.
And also becomes a coordination mechanism as it makes some people be on the supply side and others on the demand side.
Y como no necesariamente la cantidad demandada coincide con la ofrecida, cuando la demanda es mayor que la oferta, los precios suben y en su caso contrario bajan. Es decir, hay un proceso de ajuste.
And there's also an adjustment process because demand and supply don't always perfectly match. When demand goes up, prices go up, and the other way around.
En definitiva, la propiedad privada y los mercados libres determinan el funcionamiento del sistema de precios y eso es lo que permite hacer cálculo económico.
So the private property and free markets determine the price system, and this is the basis of economic calculation.
Y esto muestra por qué el socialismo en ninguna de sus vertientes puede funcionar.
And this shows why none of the varieties of socialism can work.
En el caso más extremo, porque no hay propiedad privada, por lo tanto, no se puede hacer los intercambios que requiere el mercado.
In the most extreme cases, because there's no private property, so you can't engage in the exchanges that the market would require.
Y en segundo lugar, las versiones más light que permiten la existencia del sector privado, la intromisión del Estado mete ruido en el sistema de precios.
And in the milder varieties that do allow the existence of the private sector, what happens is that state intervention creates noise in the price system.
Y cuanto más Estado hay, más violencia hay, más distorsión hay y peor funciona el sistema.
And the more state, the more government there is, the more violence there is, the more distortion there is, and the worse the system functions.
Otra de las instituciones importantes para los mercados es lo que se llama la libre competencia, pero no en el sentido neoclásico de la competencia perfecta, sino en términos de libre entrada y salida.
Another key element is free competition, but not in the more neoclassical sense, but in terms of in and out.
Y por otra parte, hay dos instituciones también que son muy importantes, que son la división del trabajo y la cooperación social.
And another two very important elements are the division of labor and social cooperation.
La división del trabajo, quien mejor lo explicó fue Adam Smith.
The one who best explained the division of labor was Adam Smith.
Una persona sola podía producir solamente 20 alfileres.
A single person could manufacture just 20 pins.
Pero si se partía en 15 la tarea, cada uno podía producir 5.000 alfileres. Es decir, estamos hablando de 75.000 alfileres.
If the task was divided by 15, we could end up with 17,000 pins.
Pero ¿cuál es el problema? Si no hay demanda para 75.000 alfileres, no va a haber tanta división del trabajo.
The thing is, if there's no demand for 75,000 pins, there will be no division of labor.
Y esto combinado con la idea de cooperación social, terminan siendo absolutamente destructivos para las ideas socialistas.
And this, combined with the notion of social cooperation, ends up being fully destructive as far as socialist ideas are concerned.
Una es, yo podría estar odiando a él, pero necesito que él compre mi producto, por lo tanto, inexorablemente lo tengo que tratar bien.
I could actually hate him, but I need for him to buy my product, so I must treat him nicely.
Por eso, como decía Bastiat, donde entra el comercio, no entran las balas.
So as Bastiat used to say, where trade goes in, soldiers don't.
Y promover el libre comercio es promover la paz.
And promoting free trade is promoting peace.
Y al mismo tiempo, esta idea del mercado como proceso de cooperación social es una tremenda bomba en contra del socialismo.
And also, this idea of the market as a social cooperation mechanism is a tremendous bomb for socialism.
Porque si los intercambios son libres,
Because if exchanges are voluntary,
eso significa que las dos partes que intervienen en el intercambio ganan los dos.
it means that it's win-win for both sides.
Por lo tanto, no hay lugar para la teoría de la explotación.
So there's no room for the theory of exploitation
No hay lugar para la plusvalía,
or for surplus value.
no hay lugar para el marxismo y el socialismo.
or for Marxism and socialism.
Al mismo tiempo, es importante señalar que en la lógica del mercado, un empresario exitoso es un benefactor social.
And according to the market logic, a successful entrepreneur or business person is a social benefactor.
Porque en el capitalismo de libre empresa solamente es posible ser exitoso sirviendo al prójimo con bienes de mejor calidad a un mejor precio.
Because in free enterprise capitalism, you can only succeed if you serve others with goods of better quality or at a better price.
Y si ese empresario no lo está haciendo bien, podrá aparecer otro que pueda brindar el mismo bien a un mejor precio o el mismo precio, mejor calidad, y eso va a llevar a la quiebra a los ineficientes y va a potenciar el bienestar.
And if the business person doesn't do things right, then someone else might come along offering goods of better quality or at a better price, and that will lead to them going bust.
Y por ende, los empresarios son benefactores sociales porque nos brindan bienes de mejor calidad a un mejor precio, mientras que van creando puestos de trabajo y progreso en toda la sociedad. Por lo tanto, digamos, abracemos a los empresarios que son la base de la prosperidad.
And so entrepreneurs who can come up with goods of better quality or at a better price are actually offering progress, and we must embrace them because they are creating well-being for society.
Por lo tanto, dada esta introducción, vale la pena enfrentar ahora dónde está el dilema neoclásico.
So after this intro, the question is, where is the neoclassical dilemma?
Esto, digamos, dentro de la teoría del crecimiento económico y su evidencia empírica se llama el palo de hockey.
We talk about the hockey stick in terms of economic growth theory and its empirical evidence.
Si ustedes miran la historia desde la era cristiana en adelante,
If you look at history ever since the Christian era,
el PBI per cápita durante el periodo entre el año 0 y el 1800 prácticamente estuvo constante.
per capita GDP between the year 0 and the year 1800 remained virtually constant.
Sin embargo, desde el año 1800 hasta aquí se multiplicó por más de 15 veces.
But since the year 1800 and until now, it has multiplied nearly 15-fold.
Y en ese mismo periodo, la población en el año 1800 era de 800 millones de seres humanos y hoy se ha multiplicado por 10.
And actually, in the same period, if we look at the year 1800, the population at the time was 800 million, and now it's multiplied by 10.
Es decir, que aumentó la productividad per cápita
So per capita productivity went up,
y además el PBI aumentó por cerca de 150 veces.
and GDP rose by nearly 150 times.
A punto tal que estamos en el mejor momento de la historia de la humanidad.
So much so that we're actually in the best moment in the history of humanity.
Entonces, todo esto a pesar de la existencia del Estado.
All of this despite the existence of government, of the state.
Y en este mismo periodo de tan importante crecimiento económico, la pobreza extrema pasó del 95% de la población al 5%.
And in this same period of growth, extreme poverty went from 95% to 5%.
Sin embargo, esta presencia de rendimientos crecientes significa que hay estructuras concentradas, es decir, que hay monopolios.
Now, these increasing returns involve the existence of concentrated structures, of monopolies.
Entonces la pregunta es, si se generó tanto bienestar, ¿por qué la teoría neoclásica dice que los monopolios son malos si nos trajo tanto bienestar y tanta caída de la pobreza?
So the question is, if monopolies are so bad, how can you explain the fact that they promoted so much well-being and such a reduction in poverty?
Y en realidad, como diría Murray Newton Rothbard, el inventor del anarcocapitalismo, el problema es que el análisis neoclásico está mal.
The inventor of neocapitalism, Murray Rothbard, said that the problem was that the model was wrong, of course.
Supongamos que tengo 10 empresas compitiendo por hacer teléfonos celulares.
Let's suppose that we have 10 companies in competition to manufacture cell phones.
Y una de ellas ahora descubre una técnica para hacer un teléfono de mejor calidad a un mejor precio.
And one of them now discovers a technology to manufacture a new kind of phone with a better quality and at a better price.
Naturalmente, hay 9 empresas que van a quebrar.
Of course, there will be 9 businesses staying out of business.
Sin embargo, ¿alguno de ustedes se quejarían por tener mejores teléfonos a un mejor precio?
But would anyone here complain about having better phones at a better price?
Por lo tanto, fuera la teoría neoclásica.
So down with the neoclassical theory.
Entonces, veamos dónde están esos errores de la teoría neoclásica.
So where are the mistakes in neoclassical theory?
En la versión más simple es porque dicen que el precio del monopolio es mayor que el de la competencia y que la cantidad producida es menor que en competencia.
Basically, because they say that the price in monopoly situations is higher than in competitive situations, and that the quality is lower.
Sin embargo, ese análisis es errado porque tiene varios problemas.
But that analysis is flawed. There are several things to point out.
En primer lugar, porque es solamente un análisis de equilibrio parcial.
First, because it's only a partial equilibrium analysis.
Solo considera el equilibrio en un solo mercado y no considera el resto de la economía.
It only focuses on equilibrium in a single market without looking at the rest of the economy.
Es decir, yo tengo el monopolio sobre Javier Milei y ustedes tienen el monopolio de ustedes mismos sobre cada uno de ustedes.
I mean, I hold a monopoly on Javier Milei, and you hold a monopoly on each and every one of yourselves.
Y eso no tiene nada de malo. Y
Andas.
afortunadamente somos todos distintos, gracias a Dios.
And there's nothing wrong about that. And thank God we're all different.
Es más, festejamos nuestras diferencias porque no nos gusta la uniformidad gris del socialismo.
In fact, we celebrate our differences because we don't like the gray uniformity of socialism.
Pero no solo está mal por ser un análisis de equilibrio parcial que no considera el resto de los mercados, sino que además es tan burdo que tampoco considera los efectos futuros, es decir, el impacto en el futuro de estas estructuras de mercado.
But the analysis is not just wrong because it only looks at the partial equilibrium without looking at the whole market, but also because it fails to consider the future effects in this regard, the future impact.
De hecho, esto me hace recordar un hermoso libro de un economista y pensador americano, Henry Hazlitt, que se llama La economía en una lección.
Henry Hazlitt wrote a lovely book called Economics in One Lesson, freely translated, and I remember that book.
Que decía la diferencia entre el buen economista y el mal economista
And he said the difference between a good economist and a bad economist
es que el mal economista solamente mira el mercado en un periodo
is that the bad one only looks at the market within a certain period,
mientras que el buen economista no solo mira todos los mercados y no solo el presente, sino también el futuro.
whereas a good economist looks at all markets, not just the present ones, but also the future.
Por lo tanto, esto estaría mostrando que el análisis tradicional del monopolio y por el cual se los regulan es parte de un mal análisis económico.
So the traditional analysis of monopolies and the way they're regulated is part of a flawed economic analysis.
Y si además tomamos el rol que tienen las ganancias como elemento para generar crecimiento económico, además, meterse con los beneficios implica impactar negativamente sobre el crecimiento.
And if we also take into account the role of profits as drivers of economic growth, if you start meddling with profits, this slows down growth.
Entonces la pregunta es, ¿cuál es la verdadera respuesta o el verdadero fundamento de este análisis?
So what's the true answer? What's the true foundation of this analysis?
Y en realidad la respuesta no está en el análisis económico, está en la estructura matemática que usa el equilibrio general.
So it's not about economic analysis, but about the mathematical structure used in global or general equilibrium.
O sea, básicamente tiene que ver con el análisis del óptimo de Pareto y el problema de las no convexidades en los conjuntos de producción.
So there's Pareto optimality and non-convexity in production sets. That's what it's about.
Básicamente, el óptimo de Pareto, para que el equilibrio existente sea óptimo de Pareto, tanto los consumidores como los productores deberían estar maximizando.
So in the Pareto optimality model, both consumers as well as producers should be optimizing, or maximizing rather.
Y el problema es que cuando nosotros tenemos rendimientos crecientes, tenemos funciones de producción convexas.
When we have increasing returns, we have convex production functions.
Y el problema con esas funciones es que no se puede encontrar un máximo.
And the problem with those functions is that you can't actually find a maximum.
Naturalmente eso es un error matemático también.
Of course, that is also a mathematical error.
Porque si yo tengo rendimientos crecientes, puedo encontrar un máximo si utilizo todas las dotaciones de la economía.
Because if you have increasing returns, you can find the maximum, provided you use all endowments in the economy.
Entonces ahí aparecería otro problema, que entonces me quedaría una sola empresa.
So the other issue that comes up is that you would end up with just one business.
Pero eso, que parece algo empíricamente correcto,
But this, which might seem empirically correct,
también tiene otro error conceptual,
entails another conceptual error.
porque básicamente implica desconocer la naturaleza de la firma
Because it basically involves disregarding the nature of the business,
y, entre otras cosas, deja de lado el hecho de que las firmas son manejadas por seres humanos.
and it also disregards the fact that businesses are run by human beings.
Y naturalmente, cuanto ustedes más quieran trabajar para producir más,
And the more you want to work in order to produce more,
el costo de oportunidad del tiempo libre crece fenomenalmente.
of course, the opportunity cost of free time or leisure time goes up phenomenally.
¿De qué les serviría un trabajo que le ofrecen 12 millones de dólares al año si ustedes tuvieran que trabajar los 7 días de la semana 24 horas?
What good to get a job where you're offered $12 million a year if you have to work 24/7?
Si van a chocar contra su propia humanidad.
You will be doing violence to your own humanity.
Sin embargo, el análisis neoclásico trabaja a las firmas como si fueran máquinas y no como empresas que dependen, que son propiedad de los seres humanos.
But neoclassical analysis treats businesses as if they were machines rather than organizations with humans.
Finalmente, otra de las críticas que se le hace a los monopolios es que en realidad generan menos cantidades producidas en la economía.
Yet another criticism leveled at monopolies is that they generate less produced quantities in the economy.
Y eso también es falso, porque todo ese dinero que ganan los monopolistas evidentemente lo pueden volcar al consumo y generar producción y empleo en otros lugares de la economía.
And that's also false, because all that money that is generated in these monopolistic structures can then be put into new and further production, into jobs for the benefit of the economy overall.
Pero es más, ahora vamos a hacer un par de casos que irriten más a los keynesianos.
Now we're going to quote a couple more cases to irritate Keynesians even more.
¿Qué sucede si esas grandes ganancias las ahorramos? Ahora, ese ahorro se transforma en inversión en otras empresas y eso genera crecimiento del producto y del empleo en otros sectores. No se pierde nada.
And of course, what if those big, substantial profits saved are put into investments in other businesses that will lead to growth in GDP, in jobs, in other sectors, so nothing is lost.
O supongamos que este monopolista es tan ambicioso que quiere invertir todo en su propia empresa.
Well, let's assume that this monopoly holder is so greedy that he wants to invest it all in his own business,
Tal que todo su ahorro se transforma en inversión.
so that all of his savings turn into investments.
Pero esa inversión significa más capital, más productividad, mayores salarios,
But of course, this investment means more capital, higher productivity, more wages,
y al mismo tiempo más producción del bien, con lo cual baja el precio. Por lo tanto, mayores salarios y menores precios. Por lo tanto, todo ganancia de bienestar.
and of course, if you have more goods, this means more higher salaries and lower prices, so it's all gains for well-being.
Es más, entonces como ya no le podemos encontrar más ataques al monopolista,
As we run out of arguments to attack monopoly holders,
ya que si consume genera bienestar,
since if they consume, then well-being is created.
ya que si ahorra en el sistema financiero genera bienestar,
If they save in the financial system, same thing.
y si ahorra e invierte en sí mismo también genera bienestar.
And if they save and invest in themselves, they also promote well-being.
Ahora pensemos qué pasa si el maldito empresario decide enterrar ese dinero.
Now, let's consider what happens if that evil businessman decides to, or business person decides to bury their money
Así nadie puede acceder a ese dinero.
so that no one can reach that money.
¿Qué es lo que va a ocurrir? Se va a reducir la cantidad de dinero en la economía y van a bajar los precios beneficiando a toda la población.
The amount of money in the economy will go down, and prices will also go down for the benefit of the population.
Y es más, este empresario tan malo, a los que más van a beneficiar son a los que menos tienen porque son los que se benefician de la deflación.
And the evil business owner will end up benefiting those who have less, because they will benefit the most from this deflation.
Por lo tanto, lo que acabamos de ver es que todos los análisis que justifican la intervención, lo único que hace es crear más Estado y producirle mayor daño a la gente.
So what we have seen is that all analyses that favor more intervention end up creating more government, more state, and more damage to the people.
Por lo tanto, para cerrar esta presentación,
So, in wrapping up this presentation,
voy a mostrar cómo la intervención socialista lo que hace es destruir la economía.
I'll show how socialist intervention ends up destroying the economy.
Y básicamente este ataque que hacen los socialistas son desde dos puntos de vista.
And the attacks from socialists basically focus on two things.
Básicamente, por un lado está la regulación de los monopolios, que al regular los monopolios quiebra el efecto de los rendimientos crecientes y hacen que las economías se estanquen.
On the one hand, there's the regulation of monopolies, which leads to breaking the effect of increasing returns and in turn leads to the economies being stagnated.
Es más, si se regulara bajo el ideal neoclásico, la cuasirrenta sería cero.
In fact, if you were to regulate according to the neoclassical idea, quasi-rent or extraordinary profits would be zero.
Y por lo tanto, estaríamos en un mundo de la competencia perfecta donde no hay incentivo a crecer.
So it would be a world of perfect competition with no incentive for growth.
En el fondo, lo que hace es abortar el proceso de destrucción creativa a la Schumpeter.
So this ends up aborting the creative destruction process according to Schumpeter.
Porque estos procesos de destrucción creativa parten de la idea de resolver algún problema de la sociedad que les permite ganar más dinero y eso es lo que genera el progreso tecnológico y el crecimiento.
Because these creative destruction processes are based on some issue that they seek to resolve in order to be able to generate more growth.
Por lo tanto, si regulo los beneficios, si regulo la ganancia, el problema es que lo que voy a tener es estancamiento.
So regulating profits, regulating gain leads to stagnation.
Al margen de que regular precios y cantidades implica destruir el derecho de propiedad.
And also regulating prices and quantities or amounts is tantamount to destroying property rights.
De hecho, les voy a contar el caso de un país que conozco, llamado Argentina.
In fact, let me tell you about a case involving a country I know, Argentina.
Un país que entró al siglo XX siendo uno de los países más ricos del mundo.
A country that was one of the most affluent in the world in the early 20th century,
Y que sin embargo hoy está 140 en el ranking mundial.
and which today ranks 140 worldwide,
Con más de 50% de pobres y más de 10% de indigentes.
with over 50% poor and over 10% extreme poor.
Y cuando uno mira la cantidad de regulaciones, uno va a entender por qué.
And when you look at the number of regulations, then you'll understand.
Dentro de nuestros equipos de gobierno hemos descubierto, por el momento, 380.000 regulaciones que traban el funcionamiento del sistema económico.
Our government teams have so far identified 380,000 regulations which get in the way of a functioning economy.
Y de hecho, nuestras dos grandes primeras medidas de reformas estructurales, el decreto de necesidad de urgencia y la ley de bases,
And in fact, our two major structural reform drives, the emergency decree and the omnibus bill,
propuestas que proponen darle más libertad a los argentinos,
seek to give more freedom to the Argentine people,
ir hacia estructuras de mercado más competitivas
move towards more competitive market structures,
y sobre todas las cosas eliminar la corrupción de la política,
and above all, end corruption in politics.
nos encontramos con grandes resistencias por parte de los beneficiarios de este sistema decadente que empobrece a los argentinos de bien en favor de la casta corrupta.
And of course, we face much resistance on the part of those who benefit from this decadent framework. And of course, this involves the corrupt political caste,
Donde la casta corrupta se compone de políticos ladrones,
which includes this political corrupt caste includes thieving politicians
que ponen sus privilegios por encima del bienestar de los argentinos,
who put their own privileges above the well-being of the Argentine people,
por empresarios prebendarios que hacen negocios con los políticos corruptos,
and of course, there's business owners who get into wheeling and dealing and monkey business with corrupt politicians,
por medios de comunicación corruptos que están muy enojados con nosotros porque le eliminamos la pauta oficial.
And there are also corrupt media who are really mad at us because we have done away with government-paid advertising.
También, digamos, por los sindicalistas que se ocupan de sus negocios en contra de la gente.
And of course, there's the trade unionists who look after their own business interests rather than taking care of the people.
Y además, digamos, por aquellos profesionales que son funcionales a la religión del Estado, que viven de defender a estos corruptos.
And of course, there are professionals who make a living out of defending these corrupt groups and who basically profess the religion of government, of the state.
Por lo tanto, tomarán conciencia de la gran pelea que estamos dando.
So you can get an idea of this major battle we're fighting.
Pero no nos vamos a rendir en volver a hacer Argentina grande nuevamente.
But we will not surrender till we make Argentina great again.
La otra gran amenaza por donde atacan los socialistas y el estatismo es básicamente la discusión entre eficiencia y distribución.
The other major threat or attack from socialists and statism has to do with efficiency as opposed to distribution.
Donde ahí se señala al capitalismo como un sistema hiperindividualista y se lo compara frente al altruismo socialista con el dinero ajeno.
And so they say that capitalism is hyper-individualist as opposed to the altruism of socialism,
Siempre con el dinero ajeno.
always with the money of others.
Y esta aberración se lleva a cabo en nombre de la justicia social.
And this aberration is pursued in the name of social justice.
Que, donde Hayek hablaba de las palabras comadreja,
Hayek used to talk about weasel words,
donde cada vez que le ponían un adjetivo significaba totalmente lo opuesto.
whenever they chose an adjective, it was actually the exact opposite.
De hecho, como dice el gran Jesús Huerta de Soto, la justicia social es violenta e injusta. O sea, no es ni justa, ni social, ni nada. Es una aberración.
So as Jesus Huerta de Soto says, social justice is violence and unjust. It's not just or anything of the sort. Far from it. It's an aberration.
En primer lugar, es injusta porque implica un trato desigual frente a la ley.
It's unjust because it involves unequal treatment
Y
before
la
the law.
redistribución que implica la justicia social es robarle a uno para darle a otro, lo cual hace que la justicia social, además de violenta, sea injusta.
So in addition to being violent, social justice is unjust because that redistribution is basically robbing Peter to pay Paul.
En el mismo sentido, esto se agrava con la idea de la democracia ilimitada.
And this is made even worse when you take the idea of unlimited democracy.
Es decir, la democracia originalmente fue diseñada para respetar el derecho de la más pequeña de las minorías, el individuo.
Democracy was originally designed to respect the smallest of minorities, the individual.
Pero cuando ingresan las ideas socialistas e ingresa la idea de la democracia ilimitada, aparece el populismo.
But when socialist ideas came along and the idea of unlimited democracy, then socialism came along.
Pero para que no quede en algo tan abstracto, les voy a dar un ejemplo.
But to make it less abstract, let me give you an example.
Supongamos que se juntan 4 lobos y una gallina.
Let's suppose 4 wolves and a hen come together.
Bueno, ahora vamos a votar por qué se come hoy a la noche.
Let's now vote what's on the menu tonight.
Se acaban de comer la gallina.
They've just eaten the hen.
En el fondo, eso también es lo que pasa en la economía.
So deep down, that's also what happens in the economy.
La gallina de los huevos de oro es el segmento que genera riqueza.
The hen that lays the golden eggs is a segment that generates wealth.
Pero por la forma de la distribución del ingreso,
But due to the way income is distributed,
el 80% de la población tiene un ingreso menor que el ingreso promedio.
80% of the population have income below the average.
Y ahí es cuando aparece el político populista
And that's when the populist politician comes along
que dice que hay que sacarle a los ricos para darle a los pobres.
and says that you need to take away from the rich to give to the poor.
No solo Venezuela, Argentina y todo el populismo latinoamericano.
Not just Venezuela, Argentina, and all of Latin American populism.
Y cuando eso ocurre,
And when that happens,
se destruyen los beneficios y se destruye también el crecimiento económico.
profits are destroyed as well as economic growth.
Digo, si lo quieren en términos prácticos, Argentina es un país que produce alimentos para más de 400 millones de seres humanos.
In practical terms, Argentina is a country that produces food for over 400 million people.
Y la presión sobre el sector productor de fiscal sobre el sector productor de alimentos es del 70%.
And the tax pressure, the tax burden on the food producing sector is 70%.
Es decir, que el Estado se queda con el alimento de 280 millones de seres humanos.
So the state government keeps the food of 280 million people.
A pesar de ello, hay 5 millones de argentinos que no les alcanza para comer gracias al maldito Estado.
And still 5 million Argentines don't have enough to eat because of the damned government, the state.
Otra parte que también se discute, y que discuten los socialistas y que tiene que ver con la distribución del ingreso y que plantean que el sistema es injusto.
Socialists also continue to discuss income distribution, saying that the system is unjust.
Hay un hermoso libro de Israel Kirchner que se llama Creatividad, Capitalismo y Justicia Distributiva.
There's a lovely book by Israel Kirzner that's called Creativity, Capitalism, and Distributive Justice.
Y ese libro parte de la hipótesis que Kirchner dice, el sistema capitalista es más productivo, pero que si fuera verdaderamente injusto, no habría motivos para defenderlo.
So the assumption is that Kirzner says that capitalism is actually more productive. But if it were unjust, there would really be no argument to defend it.
Y en ese sentido, trabaja sobre dos ideas.
And he works on two ideas along those lines.
Trabaja con el principio de apropiación de Locke,
Locke's appropriation principle.
es decir, el que se lo descubre se lo queda.
So
Si ustedes descubren algo, son el dueño de eso.
if you discover something, then you keep it, you appropriate.
Y la otra idea es la idea de Hayek del mercado como proceso de descubrimiento.
And then there's Hayek's idea of the market as a discovery procedure.
De hecho, la idea del mercado como proceso de descubrimiento implica que no hay una torta para repartir, sino que esa torta se va creando cuando se va produciendo.
In fact, this idea of the market as a discovery procedure involves that there's actually no pie to be shared. It's not a given. The pie develops as you continue to create.
Por lo tanto, si esa torta se va descubriendo mientras que ustedes van avanzando en el proceso productivo,
So if the pie gets discovered as you move forward along the productive process,
por lo tanto, lo lógico es que esa torta sea apropiada por aquel que la fue descubriendo.
it's only natural that the pie should be appropriated by those who discovered it.
Por lo tanto, ahora el sistema no solo que es más productivo, sino que además es el único sistema que es justo.
So that makes the system not only more productive, but also means that it's the only just system.
Y la verdad que, digamos, con todo esto, a los socialistas los tenemos más que en jaque mate. Ya les diría que...
And, well, of course, after all of this, we've got socialists cornered.
Por eso les voy a dar una más, les voy a dar un bis.
This is why one more to share with you. Encore.
Naturalmente, cuando uno regula los monopolios, regula las empresas, bloquea los procesos competitivos y al mismo tiempo introduce el concepto de la justicia social, evidentemente eso conduce al estancamiento.
Naturally, when you regulate and you act against monopolies and you regulate business and production and bring up this idea of social justice, well, all of that ends up leading to stagnation.
Y ese estancamiento, dado el crecimiento de la población, lleva al empobrecimiento paulatino de ese país.
And stagnation in the context of population growth leads to a gradual stagnation in the country.
¿Y cómo corrigen esto?
How do you remedy this?
Lo corrigen con la agenda asesina del aborto.
And, well, how do they correct this? With the murderous abortion agenda.
Una agenda asesina que podemos encontrar sus orígenes ya con los egipcios intentando exterminar a los judíos.
A murderous agenda that we can trace back to the times of ancient Egypt, when the ancient Egyptians attempted to exterminate the Jewish people.
O con el caso de Malthus, con su tratado sobre la población y la ley de hierro de los salarios que promovía el control de la natalidad.
Or Malthus and his his principle on birth control, which was basically about just that, birth control, population control.
O más cercano, digamos, a fines de la década del 60, el Club de Roma.
Or even closer in time to the 60s, the Club of Rome.
Donde el Club de Roma decía que como el mundo se movía con energía de fósiles,
which suggested that as the world used energy based on fossil fuels,
y como esas energías no son renovables,
and since those energy sources are not renewable,
predecían que en el año 2000 se iban a agotar esos recursos.
they predicted that those resources would have run out by the year 2000.
Y sin embargo,
And yet,
digamos, esa situación lo que iba a generar es que no hubiera alimento para todos y que nos íbamos a morir y que solamente quedaríamos 1.000 millones de personas en el planeta Tierra.
they claimed that that would lead to food running out and to many of us dying and only 1 billion people being left on this planet.
Y en base a eso, hoy, habiéndose desclasificado los archivos de Nixon y de Kissinger, sabemos que propusieron esa agenda asesina del aborto.
And now that we have the Nixon and Kissinger files that have been declassified, we know that they were advocating the abortion agenda.
Donde, por ejemplo, Children's Parenthood tiene más locales que McDonald's en todo el mundo.
So Children's Parenthood has more venues than McDonald's around the world.
Pero afortunadamente se equivocaron de nuevo porque hoy en el mundo viven 8.000 millones de seres humanos.
Fortunately, they were wrong again, because today there are 8 billion people living in the world.
Sin embargo, no cesan en esa agenda asesina.
But they stick to their murderous agenda.
De hecho, el posmarxismo, frente a su derrota en lo económico, trasladó sus batallas de lucha de clases a otros aspectos de la vida.
Post-Marxism, defeated on the economic front, transferred its class struggle to other aspects of life,
Por ejemplo, el ecologismo,
such as ecologism,
donde plantea la lucha del hombre contra la naturaleza.
arguing a fight against nature that is waged by human beings.
Donde culpan al ser humano del calentamiento global,
They blame human beings for global warming,
cuando esto ya ha pasado 4 veces en la historia del planeta Tierra y no vivía el ser humano.
when this has actually happened already 4 times in the history of the Earth, even when there were no humans around.
Y donde para corregir este problema a los neomarxistas no se le ocurre otra cosa que exterminar a los humanos.
And of course, the only idea that neo-Marxists can come up with in order to correct this problem is to exterminate humans.
Si verdaderamente tuviéramos un problema de recursos, deberíamos estar esperando colonizar otros planetas, no, digamos, condenarnos a la muerte.
So if we did have a problem with scarcity of resources, we should be planning to colonize other worlds rather than think about exterminating ourselves.
De hecho, todos esos análisis en contra del crecimiento de la población son falsos.
In fact, all those analyses that go against population growth are false.
Entonces le quiero dejar también el caso de un economista muy optimista que se llamaba Julian Simon,
Let me quote a very optimistic economist called Julian Simon,
que señalaba que el crecimiento de la población traía más progreso tecnológico.
who said that population growth entailed more technological progress.
Entonces, por ejemplo, señalaba que había crecimiento tecnológico impulsado por la demanda,
So he would say that there was demand-driven technological progress,
donde básicamente, al haber más personas y haber problemas de escasez y demás, eso afectaba al sistema de precios y generaba nuevas reformas y nuevos progresos tecnológicos para resolver dichos problemas.
He suggested that if there were more people and scarcity issues, that had an impact on the price system, which of course ended up driving reforms and technological progress in order to solve the problems.
Y por otra parte, señalaba el progreso tecnológico impulsado por el lado de la oferta.
And he also highlighted supply-driven technological progress,
Donde, por ejemplo, las chances de que tenga un Mozart en mi población es mucho más grande si vive 1 millón de personas que si viven 10.
Of course, there are many more chances of having a Mozart in your population if you are 1 million rather than just 10.
En definitiva, el mensaje es el siguiente:
So the message is this:
no dejen avanzar el socialismo.
don't let socialism advance.
No avalen la regulación.
Don't endorse regulation.
No avalen la idea de los fallos de mercado.
Don't endorse the idea of market failure.
No permitan el avance de la agenda asesina.
Don't allow the advance of the murderous agenda.
Y no se dejen llevar por los cantos de sirena de la justicia social.
And don't let the siren calls of social justice woo you.
Yo vengo de un país que compró todas esas ideas estúpidas y de ser un país de los más ricos del mundo, está en el lugar 140.
I come from a country that bought all of those stupid ideas, and from being one of the most affluent countries in the world, now we rank 140.
Por lo tanto, no entreguen su libertad, peleen por su libertad.
Don't surrender your liberty. Fight for your freedom.
Porque si no pelean por la libertad, los van a llevar a la miseria.
If you don't fight for your freedom, they will drag you into misery.
Pero quiero dejarles también un mensaje de optimismo.
But I would also like to leave a message of optimism with you.
Argentina parecía un país de ovejas condenado a la pobreza que nos marcan los socialistas.
Argentina seemed to be a country condemned to be like sheep driven by socialists.
Y recuerdo cuando inicié mi carrera política para ser diputado nacional, dije que yo no venía a guiar corderos, venía a despertar leones.
And when I started my political career in Congress as a congressman, I said that I wasn't there to herd sheep, but rather to awaken lions.
Y fue así que cada día despertamos más leones y el mensaje de la libertad no solo nos llevó a la presidencia de la Argentina, sino que además estamos despertando todo el mundo.
And we continue to awaken more and more lions every day, and the message of freedom didn't just make me president of Argentina. We are awakening the world.
Por la libertad.
So don't surrender in your fight for freedom.
¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Long live freedom, damn it!
¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Long live freedom, damn it!
¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Long live freedom, damn it!
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions are switching to Newsmax. It's the fastest growing streaming service in America. You don't need those woke streaming services anymore. Just get Newsmax Plus. Watch the best shows like Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, and Eric Bolling.
Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really terrific.
Gain access to exclusive documentaries, series, and special briefings. It's free to start, so go to NewsmaxPlus.com now to sign up and watch Newsmax anytime, anywhere.
On January 7, 2021, they tried to silence our voices forever as 1.2 million Americans were deplatformed, including our great real president, Donald Trump. It's been 3 long years of fighting to save our country and secure our elections, but now our voice is bigger than ever. God has blessed me with FrankSpeech.com and our courageous Lindell TV lineup with Emerald Robinson, Steve Bannon, and the great Lou Dobbs, along with hundreds of other hosts. We want you to be informed and involved as we work to save our country. So watch our epic lineup on Lindell TV at FrankSpeech.com. Thank you and God bless.
What if a country financed terror and undermined American security? Would you support sanctions? Imagine a nation collaborating against U.S. interests with Iran, breaking international laws. Should sanctions follow? Consider a country engaged in espionage, manipulating academic institutes, and violating human rights. Is it time for sanctions? There is one country guilty of all these. Sanctions on Qatar now.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Schlapp, and we've already got our dates for CPAC 2025 right here in the Gaylord Hotel. Go to our website, cpac.org/2025, and get signed up today.
America is under attack. Our families are being crushed under the politics of a radical agenda. But moms have had enough. We are standing up and we are fighting back.
This is our battle. This battle is every bit as important as the Revolutionary War because we fight for the same thing.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
I think Moms for America is exactly exactly on track and is doing the right thing for the future of our country and our children.
Like Moms for America is going at the heart of the issue.
But I am honored to join Moms for America today as we speak out against the horrific mandates.
With a national network of over 500,000 mothers, Moms for America is one of the fastest growing movements of women in the country.
The most dangerous place in all of nature is between a mama bear and her baby cub.
We are the change. No matter what, no matter where, and no matter how difficult the obstacles are that are facing us and our families, we will not give up and we will not give in.
So if not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Welcome to the Momland Revolution.
If you're having fun this year, just wait for CPAC 2025. You can get your tickets now. Go to cpac.org/2025. See you there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former presidential candidate and entrepreneur, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Great to see you guys. How about Javier Milei? Afuera. We need to bring some of that to the United States of America. So I was coming out here, we're talking backstage. I said, make some news. Say something that's actually announced something today. So I was thinking about what I wanted to say. And I said this last night at the Reagan dinner. We are in the middle of a war in this country. It's not a war between black and white, as the media would have you believe. It's not even a war between Democrat or Republican or man or woman or whatever. It is a war between those of us who love the United States of America and our founding ideals, and a fringe minority who hates this country and what we actually stand for. And right now, more than ever, we need a commander-in-chief who is going to lead us to victory in that war. And that man is Donald J. Trump, the next 47th president of the United States of America. And I say this as somebody who ran against him in the primary. It is now time to make sure we elect that commander-in-chief. And so my announcement today, and I think every Republican candidate, honestly, at the national level should follow, is that, look, for any super PAC or C4 or whatever entity that supported me during that campaign, I'm publicly calling on them to use their resources to support Donald J. Trump in his reelection effort. And I want every other Republican candidate who ran for president to do the same thing, because we are not working with a lot of time here. If my kids are in high school before we get this right, I don't think we have a country left. That's not exaggeration. Last night I gave a speech about the Founding Fathers, and today, this morning, I'm with my son, and we were supposed to go to a dinosaur museum this morning. We had the tickets purchased and everything. I talked about the Founding Fathers last night, though, and we scrapped that plan. We're in Washington, D.C. I took him to see the monuments. We went to the Washington Monument. We went to the Jefferson Memorial. And the thing we teach him about Thomas Jefferson isn't that, oh, this man was a slaveholder or whatever it is the left wants us to say as the actual slaves to this new psychology, but to say that this was the man who said that all men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we need to teach that next generation. You see, our America First movement, we love the man who revived it in 2016, but it didn't start in 2016. It started in 1776. And if our founding fathers were alive today, what would they say to us? That you have another 250 years and then some still left. But you're going to have to step up and seize it for yourself. You don't get it automatically. You don't get to just inherit the blessings of liberty. You have to fight for it. Every generation has learned that time and again. This is our 1776 moment right now. This is our moment. Step up and seize it. We use words like America First. And I'm an America First conservative. I know many of you are too. But what does it mean to put America first? It means two things, two basic things. One is that we, the people, create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, not the shadow government in the deep state that's pulling the strings today. So if there's one thing that Donald Trump, I have full confidence, is going to get done as the next U.S. president, it will be to finally tame that bureaucracy, shut down that deep state. That is what draining the swamp is all about. Here's how we're going to do it. Get in there and fire 75% of federal bureaucrats. Actually shut down government agencies that should no longer exist. Fire people who have done a bad job in their positions. 8-year term limits for the bureaucrats who were never elected to their positions in the first place. This is how you finally drain the swamp. And that's the first one. The people we elect to run the government should run the government. And the second one is this. The moral duty of our leaders, the first and only moral duty of our leaders, is to the citizens of this nation, not any other one. The citizens of the United States of America. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. And that is why we need to use our own military to secure our own southern border and our northern border, too. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law. It means we complete that wall. It means we stop funding Central America until they've stopped the flow of migrants. Stop funding federal sanctuary cities. Actually end birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal migrants because it does not apply to them under the Constitution. And you know what? If we've had the largest influx of migrants into our country in American history, then yes, it is time to have the largest mass deportation in American history as well. That's not racist. That's not xenophobic. Look at me, people. That's what it means to stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. That's not too much to ask. The people we elect to run the government should run the government. And the moral duty they owe is to the citizens of this nation, not any other one. And the fact that's become controversial tells you all you need to know about where we are as a country. We are lost. I'm the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president in our party. And I can tell you about our generation. Love the young people over here. I heard you cheering earlier for President Trump as well. You guys are going to make the difference this year, believe me. The guys here know what they're talking about. The guys who are their age group around this country, they're lost. Hungry for direction, for purpose, for meaning in this country. At a moment in our national history when the things that used to fill that void, faith in God, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. And when you have a moral vacuum that runs that deep, that's when the poison fills the void. And we sometimes obsess over the poison too much, right? One at a time. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, globalism, Zelenskyism, the list goes on, all right? But the question is, how do we actually defeat it? And these are symptoms of that deeper void. And I think now's our moment as a movement to now grow up. Because we got a trick hiding in plain sight. I'll tell you what the trick is. See, we spend a lot of our time, I do this on TV too, I do this in the campaign, so I make the same mistake, criticizing Joe Biden and the radical agenda. I want you to mark my words today. They are leading us into a trap because Joe Biden is not going to be the nominee. That's the hard truth. So part of me, I want to come here and hit Biden in the next 10 minutes before we wrap this up, and that's easy to do. In some ways, that's what they want us to do, because that's money spent, that is airtime spent, political capital with our electorate, going after one man, which as late into this cycle, once the trials start, once the lawfare continues, and it's disgusting what we're seeing in this country, the weaponization of a justice system against one man that is decided by hell or high water. They have to stop him from re-entering the White House. It's a disgusting system, but they're delaying that right in the spring, maybe even the early summer, to then move the old man Biden out of the way and prop up a new puppet who they can control. You got to skate to where the puck is going. So who's it going to be, people ask? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Who cares? Michelle Obama. That solves their Kamala Harris problem, doesn't it? This is the trap we can't fall into, and here's how we beat that. This isn't about who we're running against. It's about what we actually stand for. That's what we need to step up and revive as a conservative movement. We are not just running from something anymore. We are running back to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American in the year 2024. And to me, it means we believe in the ideals of 1776. Ideals like merit and the pursuit of excellence, that you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why we're going to end the DEI agenda, affirmative action, group quotas. That's what we need to do in every area of our life. It's killed our national soul, and we got to be done with it. It means we stand for that rule of law. We build that wall. We secure that military on our southern border, that we drain the swamp, kill that fourth branch of government, put it back where it came from. Basic ideals that unite all of us. And these aren't black ideas or white ideas. These aren't even Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. I can tell you, I traveled to the south side of Chicago during my campaign. I went to Kensington in the inner city of Philadelphia. My campaign advisors tell me, you're wasting your time and money. Why are you doing this? And given that I got all of 8% of the Iowa caucus, they were probably right. But I'll tell you what I learned, because I think it's going to help us at the general election, is that forget the old language of the Republican Party. The principles I'm talking about right here of putting our own national interests first, to say that America first includes every American, black or white, man or woman, south side of Chicago to California. That's a message that I think will deliver us a landslide of what Reagan delivered in 1980. That's what we could do again this year in 2024 if we make this about what we are running for, not about Joe Biden or whichever other puppet that we're running against. I'll tell you something. Thank you. I know most of you in this room probably agree with me that we should not be forking over $200 billion of our own taxpayer money so some Ukrainian kleptocrat can buy a bigger house, which is exactly what we're doing, that we should be using our own military to protect our own southern border rather than to actually fork it over to protect somebody else's border halfway around the world. But I'll tell you something that I learned in this campaign is, I know you guys, some of you applauded for that. Thank you very much. I have not been in a room in this campaign that agreed with me more than a room full of 95% black audience. I was told it's 150% Democrat on the south side of Chicago, who's rightly asking the question, what about me right here? When I go into the south side of Chicago and we see that they're converting a local school, South Shore High School, into an encampment for migrants, spending $7,000 per migrant per month, people in that community are rightly asking, what the heck about me? So this is our opportunity. You say Republican, the mind closes. Say you're going to put America first. Well, you know what? America first includes all Americans. That's how we're going to win this election in a landslide and deliver that moral mandate of who we are as a people. E pluribus unum means from many, one. You see, that's what we've lost in this country. We've been taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways that we're really the same as Americans, bound by that common set of ideals that set this country into motion 250 years ago. I believe those ideals still exist. They're not going to for much longer. But I think we're still in that last window. We have a chance to revive those ideals. Without that, think about it. What are we? Bunch of different-looking, two-legged higher mammals with a bunch of different shades of melanin, walking some geographic space that we call a country, doing what our iPhones tell us to do on a given day? That's not America. America is a vision of what that place can be. And that's what we've lost in this country, but it's up to us to revive it. You think about that next generation. I love all the young people I see in this audience. You know, I said this at the beginning of the campaign. It was controversial. I'm going to say it again right now. I hope you all agree with me. I think every high school senior who graduates from high school should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass in order to become a voting citizen of this country. You got to know something about a country to have pride in that country. You got to have skin in the game to play in the game. That's what our founding fathers understood 250 years ago. That's what we got to revive today. Public service is about serving the public, not about serving yourself. That's why I need to look the congressman in the eye and tell him, you don't need to be trading individual stocks during your public service time. Ban that for congressmen. End the lobbying. End the corruption. We bring people along left to right, it doesn't matter, because it's about what it actually means to be a citizen of this nation. And you want to know how we get this country back? How do we get those ideals back? I'll tell you, this is how. You know, the best measure of our country's health, is it the number of green pieces of paper in our bank account? Is it the number of ballots that get cast every November? These things are important, but it's not the most important thing. The best measure of our country's health is the percentage of people who feel free to say what they actually think in public. Right now, we're doing poorly. The only way we're going to do better is by all of us, not just me, not just Donald Trump, all of us starting to speak the truth in the open again. Say in public what you will say in private at the dinner table. Say it with a spine. Say it with conviction. Say it with respect. But part of respect is that you respect your neighbor enough to tell him what you actually think, not some fairy tale made-up, woke-washed version of it. That's what it actually means to be an American. So it's not going to be some political messiah coming from on high to save us. It's not going to work that way. If we're going to be saved, it is going to be because we save ourselves. Every one of us has to do our part. Look ourselves in the mirror. Ask yourself what you're going to do this year to make a country for our children that's not the same country, but the one greater than the one that we grew up in. That's each of our charge. It's not just Donald Trump's job. It's your job. It's every one of our job to do our part, to stand up and speak the truth. Speak the truth without apology. Speak it with a spine. So we're doing it every step in this movement. It's what's going to get us to the finish line. The truth that God is real. That there are two genders. That fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity so we can drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy. That reverse racism is racism. That an open border is not a border. That parents determine the education of their children. That the nuclear family isn't a bad word. It's the greatest form of governance known to mankind. That capitalism lifts us up from poverty. That there are 3 branches of government in the United States, not 4. And that the U.S. Constitution is the strongest and greatest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about, and that is what we will revive this year to save our great country. Thank you all. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Thank you.
Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions are switching to Newsmax. It's the fastest growing streaming service in America. You don't need those woke streaming services anymore. Just get Newsmax Plus. Watch the best shows like Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, and Eric Bolling.
Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really, really terrific.
Gain access to exclusive documentaries, series, and special briefings. It's free to start, so go to newsmaxplus.com now to sign up and watch Newsmax anytime, anywhere.
If you're having fun this year, just wait for CPAC 2025. You can get your tickets now. Go to cpac.org/2025. See you there.
Sources out there that are saying that Iran, their goal is to draw the U.S. into this broader conflict. There's no question that not only did the Iranian parliament come out and start saying death to Israel, you know that they've chanted death to America. They hate us. They hate our culture. They hate what we stand for, which is that of freedom and religious freedom. And for them, they want to take us down. And the mere fact is you have a commander-in-chief right now who is hiding in the basement that needs to be out there every single day answering the tough questions. Instead, they basically say that climate change remains the most important national security crisis that we're facing. They have caved in time and time again to Iran while knowing that they are funding Hezbollah. They've sent over $100 million, that is Iran, to Hamas, and over $700 million to Hezbollah. Clearly, it is about sponsoring terrorism. Clearly, it is about destroying our strongest ally, Israel, and then America.
Ladies and gentlemen, God's children are not for sale. Please welcome President and founder of Movimiento Viva Mexico, Eduardo Bolsonaro. Former CEO of Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard. And investigative journalist, Nancy Ross.
Wow, CPAC, what an honor, these distinguished guests, and it's a heavy topic, but I'm so grateful so many of you have stayed for this, and I wish we could pull up a chair for President Trump, right? Because nobody has done more to fight human trafficking and child sex trafficking than President Trump. I wish he could be here, but we're pulling for him in South Carolina, and what a journey. I mean, this is, I do believe, the greatest crime in the history of humanity. But we have hope. And we're here because we have hope because of these two superheroes, which I'm just so honored to sit with tonight. So
thank you.
Thank you. Tell us, it was less than a year ago. This is only my second CPAC, and here I am. And it was the Sound of Freedom premiere in Washington, D.C., and I went. I'd been waiting for the movie to come out. I was praying for its production. And I know like Amazon and Netflix, and people wouldn't put it on. They would not air this movie because, as you know, this is all a conspiracy, right? So the movie comes out. CPAC says they're starting a center to combat human trafficking. I said, I'm in, whatever I can do to help in any small way these gentlemen. Tell us about this incredible success of the movie in just less than a year.
Well, thank you, Nancy, and I want to thank Matt and Mercy for this invitation. I want to thank each one of you for supporting our film, Sound of Freedom. God bless you. Thank you so much. I want to thank President Bukele, President Milei from Argentina, and of course, President Trump for supporting this film, and so many other celebrities, actors, and political leaders who support this movement, because Sound of Freedom is not just a movie, it's a movement. It's a global movement with global solutions to end this horrible tragedy, which is child trafficking. This movie was rejected by Hollywood for 5 years. The experts, the professionals, they told us this movie is not going to work. Nobody will see a movie about child trafficking. 5 years, rejected. They didn't believe in the movie. But you know who believed in the movie? The people. Yes. The people. And the people said, enough is enough. God's children are not for sale. And I believe with all my heart that together, we will end this horrible, terrible reality. I was praying for an angel to come and save this movie after 5 years being rejected. And next thing you know, I received a phone call from Angel Studios. See? Prayers are very powerful. And we signed an agreement with them last year in April. And the movie came out on July 4th, Independence Day. I told Angel Studios, you guys are crazy. Have you seen the calendar?
Right.
The biggest films of the year are coming out that day. We are just independent filmmakers. We're Mexican filmmakers. Yes, you're Mexican filmmakers. Alejandro Monteverde, and you, Eduardo, come to the United States and celebrate Independence Day. Celebrate freedom with one hand. But with the other hand, you have to tell us, let's bring freedom to those children who are not free right now. This is a global problem, especially in the US. It's the #1 consumer of child sex in the world. Mexico, because of the location, is the #1 provider. 21,000 children disappear in Mexico every year. This is the official numbers that the government tell us. I think it's a lot more. A lot more.
Right.
More than 21,000 children that are being raped 10 to 15 times a day for many years until they don't want them anymore because they're not fresh meat anymore. That's the vocabulary that these perverts use. What happened to many of these children later? They open them and sell their organs. When you hear things like this, you cannot look the other way around. I remember when Tim told me, when we started this mission 8 years ago, are you sure you want to commit to do this, Eduardo? Yes, are you sure? I have a lot of enemies, man. We have a lot of enemies, and those enemies will be yours. Are you sure? And I remember closing my eyes, and I said, what if this is my son? What if this is my daughter? What if this is my nephew? What would I do? I will do anything to find my nephew, my niece, or my boy, my son, my daughter. And I will hope that the entire world would put pause in what they're doing so they can help me to find my son or my daughter. Well, that's the motivation. I don't have to wait until this happened to me. I'd rather do something now so it never happened to me and to anybody else. We need to do something. So I told Tim, brother, take my hand. I welcome your enemies. We're in this together. I don't care about the persecution. I don't care about the persecution because, again, God's children are not for sale. And I will give my life to end child trafficking because your children are my children, and I will give my life for your children.
Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you. As you said, it's a $150 billion+ a year industry, the fastest growing industry, surpassing the drug trade. And the sex trade has been around since the beginning of time, but this evil, Tim, the persecution has got to be off the charts for both of you.
Yeah, I'm happy that we finally get to share enemies.
Yes.
And yeah, you see it from the beginning of the film. When we tried to get it out, no one would take it. And then once it got out, immediately we're being told lies about the film, that it's QAnon adjacent, whatever that means. The film was made and done before the term QAnon was ever even published or out there. So that they lost that debate really fast. But they'll just keep coming up to stop the information from getting out there. And there's a war on children right now, from our southern border to our classrooms, and education. So many things that children are being attacked. It's a spiritual battle as well. And that's the thing I think they didn't want to talk about. Right. And the Sound of Freedom would force a conversation that they didn't want to have, especially about the southern border, where tens of thousands of kids have disappeared into the belly of the United States, which is the #1 consumer of child rape videos in the world. So this is not the place you want to be, a child, unaccompanied in our country. And they're given no respect, no regard. They just come in, don't vet the people claiming to be sponsors, and they let them right in. In fact, I would go so far as to say that unwittingly, our own agencies on the border again, not because they want to, because they're being told by the administration, they have become a child sex trafficking delivery service.
Yes.
Wow.
Because these kids just show up, and they're unaccompanied, and they have like a phone number of the sponsor. They have to call the number, and they send the kid away. That's how easy it is. I had the opportunity last summer to bring on my podcast Eduardo Bolsonaro and President Trump. We were at Bedminster, and I kind of surprised. I was interviewing President Trump, and I saw Eduardo. I said, "Come over here. I got a question for you," and I want him to answer it again. I said, "You're both running for president, right? This guy's running for president of Mexico."
Thank you.
And I asked them, I said, could you imagine, what would you guys do to stop the issues on our border if you were the president of the United States and you're the president of Mexico? And do you remember what you said?
I told him, Mr. President, when the good people of Mexico meet with the good people of the United States, when two filmmakers from Mexico, Alejandro Monteverde and myself, meet with Tim and Jim Caviezel and the other great heroes in the United States who wants to end child trafficking, when we work together, we shake hands. What is the result? Sound of freedom. It's a movement that is designed to end child trafficking. Now, what happened when the bad people of Mexico meet with the bad people of the United States? When they work together, they shake hands. What's the result? Child trafficking, culture of death, abortion, illegal guns, drugs, death. So we need to work together because we are not just neighbors, we're brothers and sisters, Mexico and United States.
That's right.
And we need to work together to eradicate all the bad stuff that we do to each other and work together to capitalize all the good stuff that we do to each other. And let's make Mexico and America great together again. We can do that.
Yes.
We can do that. But first, we need to remove the communist regime that is governing Mexico right now. I'm telling you, if we don't remove them, these elections, Mexico will become like Venezuela and Cuba together on steroids in the southern border. This is big because we have a communist president right now. López Obrador is a communist president. And he doesn't care about the people of Mexico. Mexico is not doing well. There's more poverty, more insecurity, more crime. Sound of Freedom led me to register last year as an independent candidate for the presidency of Mexico. A few days ago, I filed to be certified as an independent president of Mexico. In a few days, they will let me know.
And they're trying to block you, you told
Of course,
right,
of course. They're still we have the signatures. They stole my signatures. They're trying to obstruct me. They're blocking us. If I'm not going to be certified in a few days, I'm going to take them to court. And if it's necessary, to the International Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, because we need to kick down these communists. They are raping our country for decades. There's no democracy in Mexico. We have 7 political parties. They're all the same. There's no opposition. There's no opposition. It's like imagine here, all of a sudden, Kamala Harris become the Republican candidate against Hillary Clinton as a Democrat. It would be a joke, right? Well, that's the joke that it's happening in Mexico right now.
And we're praying for you, for your success, for the people of Mexico. Tim, for you, your family. And we stand together in this fight because we know it's going to take not only men of God, but an army of God, right? All of us in this, and we've got God on our side, so we know the end. We pray. And we hope, we were talking earlier about another production, possibly, or more documentaries, because we know it's not just the southern border. We know trafficking is in Child Protective Services. I was told 70% of foster kids in Virginia the other day, a woman was telling me, end up being trafficked. So we know we've got to expose this beyond just
We need
border.
to do more than one movie. We need to do thousands of movies and documentaries and books and everything, because one movie is not enough. One movie is not enough. So I hope that you become ambassadors of freedom and pray to God and ask Him, what can I do? What can I do? How can I use my talents to make this world a better place for the children so they can have freedom? There's more slavery today than when slavery was legal. And many of those slaves are children. How can you sleep with that information? Evil triumphs when good people remain silent. And when good people remain silent, they're not good people anymore, because they're part of the problem.
That's right.
So let's pray. And please pray for me. I'm praying every day. I'm asking God and Our Lady of Guadalupe to help me with the majority of the Mexican people to rescue Mexico. And you have to do the same for the United States. These elections are very important, here and in Mexico. That's why, again, we need to work together. Through bilateral efforts, we can make, again, Mexico and the United States great together. We can do that. We can do that. But first, we need to hold the hand of God and ask Him to help us to do that, because we can't do that alone. There's no way we can do that alone. But we're not alone. God plus one is an army, and it's more than one here.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. And tell us, where can they follow you? Best place online on social media to follow your work in the election.
Social media, Instagram, Eduardo Verástegui, which, by the way, they blocked me too.
Oh, gosh.
By the way, if it was not enough, in those 120 days where I was raising my signatures, all of the students on Instagram, are you sure you want to follow this Eduardo Verástegui, who puts false information, blah, 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 blah?
In the meantime, they're allowing child exploitation on social.
You know when removed that curtain? After the 120 days. Very convenient.
Wow.
These people are professional criminals working in a very organized way. But you know what? I love my country. They will have to, they can't stop us.
No, they won't.
They will have to kill me to stop me, because I'm going to give my life. I'm going to sacrifice everything for Mexico, because I love my country. I love Mexico, and I will do whatever is in my hands to save my people.
Bless you.
¡Viva México!
Thank you. And
¡Viva México!
On social media.
¡Viva Estados Unidos! ¡Viva la libertad! Dios los bendiga.
Thank you. And we'll follow Tim as well on social media. God bless these great men. Thank you. Thank you.
The old civil rights adage goes, no justice, no peace.
What we have to prepare for is we're going to see this propaganda spread even further in the media outlets, in the mainstream media outlets.
What's happening right now is in a greater context of one of the greatest crimes against humanity, which is an apartheid regime.
The Israeli government is what has fueled this. It's Israel that is occupying the Palestinians, not the other way around.
And it's basically like living, Alex, in an open-air prison.
I think Hamas mainly attacked military establishments, military installations.
You can't condemn women and children and elderly people being murdered in the streets.
What about it?
Do you condemn it?
I already said.
Why can't you say yes?
Because I already gave you my answer.
You didn't give an answer, and I think anybody who watches would understand what your actual position is here.
Once Israel moves forward with an offensive strategy in eradicating Hamas, they're going to be viewed as the killers.
Do you support Israel's rights to defend themselves against this brutality?
Congressman, why do you have the Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorism done to Israel?
Do you condemn Hamas then? Tell me that.
I've already said that I condemn the violence that Hamas...
But Hamas as an organization, a terrorist organization, will you condemn them?
I don't see them as a terrorist organization.
Hamas is a political movement that was elected.
The justification of the violence is the occupation.
Palestinians are leading a freedom movement.
Hamas is a movement, and then you fight back for that and you stand for your rights. That does not make you a terrorist. That makes you a defender.
A lot of them were very disappointed when the United States moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Again, I think that Hamas decided that now to amass these capabilities and to carry out this attack, they need to bring more attention in the region and globally to what they consider to be their plight.
Palestinians are the people who have been protesting non-violently
to prevent the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
This is the most extreme fundamentalist right-wing supremacist government in the history of the state of Israel.
Israel is notorious for creating propaganda.
And did not get raped.
No.
Netanyahu is basically running his own narrative of what he wants to excuse himself. How does this end? Killing and genociding and holocausting all the Palestinians.
The apartheid state of Israel, which has no legitimate reason for existing.
I mean, hear me out. We striked first because we wanted our land back, and that's what people do when they want the thing back.
You guys are associating that Hamas is a terrorist organization. It's a resistance.
And then you have the left cheering for the violence, cheering for the killing of civilians, calling for more, chanting in the streets, there's only one solution.
Israel is a terrorist state.
I salute Hamas. A job well done.
Hamas is not a terrorist group.
What is it, like a motorcycle club? Or?
Every single thing they have done is justified.
Resistance is a human right.